This conference will now be recorded.
So what an awesome day. I would like to welcome everyone for making your time for this MLOps Specialization program, the course demo. This session is going to be for the next 2 hours. Please make sure you make your mind accordingly. So we're going to learn a lot about MLOps. So only if you stay till the end of this particular program, you can able to download the free premium ebooks that we're going to provide at the end of this particular program. And we have built an awesome demo on top of AWS, the end-to-end MLOps, the production grade MLOps pipeline. If you want to enjoy that, please make sure you stay till the end of this particular program. And so more discussion towards how does the future looks like for the next 5 to 10 years for you once you're getting into MLOps. Okay, let's get started with this particular program right now. Okay, so we know that still participants are arriving into the session. So usually, before we getting started with the session, we do ask a couple of questions before that. So let's get started. So let me just start navigating to the slides. Let me just quickly unmute my camera. So probably you should be able to see me. Let me just ensure that. Hey folks, yeah, hi, this is Sharad Kumar from Sites1 Technologies. Yes, I'm a founder and CEO, and I'm one of a trainer for this MLOps specialization program. So what I do, we do a lot of stuff in Sites1 Technologies. We are into both corporate and retail training, and we are also into servicing. So personally, I have trained more than 5,000 plus working professionals like you, helping. Just imagine anything in terms of AWS, Azure, GCP, in terms of machine learning, data science, and MLOps. We are the best peoples outside. Okay, saying that, we do help people transforming their jobs into data science, ML and MLOps. We do have participants ranging from beginners to more than 20 plus years of experience people. Okay, so more about us, you can go to www.siterontech.com to know more about us, obviously. So now let's get started with the particular program. Okay, so I'm going to just mute my camera, otherwise you'll be having my screen fit towards the left side, so it won't be more productive for you. That's perfect. So let's get started. Okay, awesome. So we have enough participants to get started with this particular program. Let's get started. Okay, so before getting started with any program, I do ask a couple of questions to my participants to understand you guys better, because I can able to set a thresholds accordingly in my brain to deliver this particular content. Okay, I know that you guys are joining from various different parts of the world. Obviously, we had a discussion in the chat window, but now let us try to understand what are you like. Just do mention, are you a student, are you a working professional? In case if you're a working professional, what kind of a job that you do mention. Are you a data engineer, are you a data scientist, are you an ML engineer, are you a software engineer, DevOps engineer? Who are you? Please do mention in the chat window. Let's try to understand you guys more better, so I can able to deliver the content in pretty much in a more quality. So please go ahead, do mention it in the chat window. Let's see who you are. Okay, let's see. Here we have Ajit. He mentions he's a data scientist. That's perfect. Please do use your chat window. Do mention who you are. So are you a data scientist? Are you an ML engineer? Are you a DevOps person? Are you a student? Please do mention in the chat window. Let's try to understand you guys more better. So here we have Himanshu says he's a data engineer. Awesome. Bharat says he's a DevOps engineer. That's awesome. So here we have a Chiranjeevi says software developer. That's awesome. So here we have a Nazaf, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. He says he's a data scientist. Awesome. Archana says he's a software engineer. That's awesome. So here we have Azif says DevOps engineer. That's awesome. So here we have Jatin, again a DevOps engineer. Balaji, .NET developer. We have a data scientist here. We have Bharat, he's a DevOps engineer. Amit, data scientist. That's awesome. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. So Dineshwar, sorry, yeah, data scientist. Uday, he's a DevOps engineer. That's awesome. Uday, again we have Aman, he's a DevOps engineer. Silva, data scientist, awesome. Shivani, data scientist, awesome. Pavan, AI ML engineer working in a computer vision natural language processing. What an awesome description. So here we have a Gaurav, lead data scientist. Awesome. Thanks for joining our session, Gaurav. So here we have Shiva, DevOps engineer. Big data engineer, we have Ibrahim Kiran, he's a software engineer. So here we have Abhishek, he says technical manager. Perfect. Please do mention who you are in the chat window. Let's try to understand you guys better, so I can able to set a threshold accordingly in my brain, so I can able to deliver a content quality for you. So please do mention who you are in the chat window. Please go ahead. So here we have Murali, is a software engineer. Muhammad, he says looking for a job in ML engineering. That's awesome. Perfect. Here we go. Let's get started. So we can able to understand clearly we have a lot of data scientists, ML engineers, DevOps professionals, software engineers, even we have students in our program. So let's get started with this particular program. So what are the highlights of this particular demo session? Okay, what is the particular highlights of this particular demo session? So the highlights are this. This is where we're going to spend the quality 2 hours. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is really MLOps is all about, and what's a great deal about it, and how you can able to become a specialist, how you can able to become a master in MLOps, and how does the future looks like for the next 5 to 10 years. How does a job opportunities looks like once you have a MLOps on top of your resume. So those things we're going to have a discussion. Okay, and let's make this session more interactive, and please make sure you keep your chat windows more active, ask a lot of questions. Okay, saying that, let's get started with a simple task for you guys. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to observe this particular picture for the next 10 seconds. That's it. There's nothing deal about it. Please go ahead and observe this particular picture for the next 10 seconds. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Go ahead. Tick, tick, 1, tick, tick, 2. Go ahead. Observe it. Okay, that's perfect. Obviously, there's nothing much to observe in this particular picture, but let me ask you some questions. Okay, please make sure you use chat window to answer this. What do you think this picture is about? Go ahead and try to describe this particular picture. So what do you think this picture is about? What kind of objects that you could able to recognize from this particular picture? Here we go. We have Shivakumar. He says it's a humans and dogs. Here we have Nikesh. He mentions it's a park. Himanshu says it's a park. It's a dog park. Archana says a people's in a park. Obviously, that's a what an awesome description, guys. That's perfect. But we know that this is a picture of a park. Obviously, we can see a lot of people's here. We can see a men's, we can see a women's, and we can see a different dogs here. Not just a one kind of a dog. We can see a different breeds of a dog, and we can see it's a park where people are spending some time, right? So what we are trying to do, right? Just try to imagine what we are trying to do. We could able to recognize everything from this particular picture, but that's not a question that I'm interested in, right? My question is this: how do you know this is a picture of a park? That's a question. Okay, that's a question. So you might be asking, okay, Sharon, what? I know this is a picture of a park, but my question is, how do you know this is a picture of a park? And my question is, how do you know this is a picture of a dog? How do you know that dog looks like this? And how do you know this is a picture of a man? And how do you know this is a picture of a woman? And how do you know these are trees? And how do you know this is a grass? And how do you know this is a park? How did you came to know that? Who taught you this is a picture of a dog, right? So here we have Siranjan says that we are trained. Balaji says they taught us, right? So what I'm trying to discuss here is pretty much simple. So what we call today as AI, data science, machine learning, right? We are the best examples, right? So we are the biological machines, right? Consider that we consume a data, we learn data in many different fashions. What if, consider that, what if I'm going to display the same exact picture to this newborn baby? Okay, I'm going to display the same exact picture to this newborn baby. Let's say she might be less than 1 year old. Consider that. So can baby recognize the same exact things that you are recognizing right now? Can a baby say it's a picture of a park? Can a baby say it's a picture of a dog or woman or something like that? No, not a chance. A newborn baby less than 1 year old, a baby could able to recognize his mother or the father, but apart from that, a baby doesn't know anything else, right? But what if the person grows? Let's say he might be learning how to walk, he will be started learning how to recognize the peoples, he will go for a school, he will learn mathematics, physics. We consume data, right? We consume data in many different fashions. Consider that we consume a data through our visuals. I mean, we consume a data through our eyes. Each and every day we consume a data through our ears. Right now you are consuming a data from me, obviously, right? So you consume a data through a sense. I mean, so we consume a data in many different fashions, right? And let's say we learn and learn, and we go to a school, we go to a college, and we go to a job, we gain more experience, and finally we expire. I mean, we die. But that's not a topic for today. But what I'm trying to mention is we are the best examples of what we call it as AI today, right? So we could able to learn a data, we could consume a knowledge, and we could able to make a predictions, we could able to make decisions for your future. So one example is you decided to attend this particular session for the next 2 hours, deciding that MLOps is going to be something really big in the future, and you want to be part of it. You made a decision for that, right? So we are the best example of what we call it as AI today, right? So but consider that this entire growth cycle as a graph, obviously, and the growth cycle for us is exponentially grows up. Each and every day we learn something and we become eventually more better in that, right? So whatever the way that we are learning the data, human beings want to replicate the same exact things with this dumb machines. So the way we have learned the data and we could able to make a predictions and decisions for a future, today human beings want to do the same exact things, right? So consider that. Let us start with a very simple example here. What if, let's say I'm going to take some data, right? We're talking about the data here, and maybe a data can be a simple document. Let's consider that we have some kind of a CSV file. Okay, so what do you mean by CSV file? Obviously, it's a simple document where I have some kind of a data. Consider that this data represents an electricity data consumption from your home. What do you mean by that? Let's say for last 3 years, consider that I might be putting a lot of sensors in your home. Let's say I'm collecting electricity consumption data from your home. So let's say I have totally 30,000 data points. I mean, I have 30,000 rows totally. What do you mean by that? Let's say I have the data saying that how much electricity that your washing machine, water geyser, it may be air conditioning unit, any electrical appliances that you have in your home. Let's say I have this data. So my goal is pretty much simple here. I want to take this data, I want to teach this data to this machine. It can be a simple device like this, it can be any cloud-based server, it can be your own personal computer. Let's say I want to teach this data to this machine. A machine understands a pattern. How do you consume a data? I mean, how do you consume an electricity in various different seasons? Consider that how much electricity you consume in a spring, how much electricity you consume in a winter, in a summer, for example, something like that. So machine tries to understand the pattern from it, and it produces something called machine learning model, which is going to be a final end product. So, and we can able to use this machine learning model to ask for predictions. Let's say I'm going to ask some forecasting, saying that how much electricity bill that I'm going to pay for the next 6 months, what I'm going to pay for the first month, what I'm going to pay for the next 6 months. I can able to ask a forecast saying that what would be the exact amount that I'm going to pay, right? That's what exactly we call it as AI at the final end product, right? So what we call it as AI today is nothing but the final end product. Consider that. So we do have chat GPT. People talk about chat GPT. So, and what is happening behind it? So we use LLMs, algorithms, models basically, and we have a robust pipeline that is running beyond chat GPT to power your AI at the end of the day. So what is this MLOps, what we are talking about? So before we talking about that, let's try to understand. A question is what it takes to build a very successful ML model. That's a question, what everyone asks. Okay, so let's get started. So here is the typical workflow of creating a successful machine learning model. I mean, just a model, but still we need to talk about MLOps. So where do we start? We do start from a data. So consider that we will go back to human beings, right? So we consume our data in various different fashions, isn't it? We consume our data through our eyes, through our ears, through our sense, in many different ways. Similarly, a machine can able to consume our data in various different fashions. Let's say your data can be the format of a picture, like a JPEG. It can be a CSV file, it can be a JSON document, it can be a simple text file, for example, obviously. So, but what we do, so once we have enough data, so then we get started with something called data preparation. So what is this data preparation, what I'm talking about? So data preparation is something similar to what we do in our kitchens every day. So what do you mean by that? It's simple like how we cook a food. So just imagine what we do. Let's say if I want to cook a food, what you do, right? So we go to market, we buy some vegetables, right? So what we do next, we started cleaning that particular vegetables, we remove unnecessary stuff, we start grabbing some ingredients and we start putting some oil, we start cooking it, we prepare the food, right? So that's exactly what we call it as data preparation today. So let's say a real-time data that is coming from your customers, right? So that's coming from your customers, that comes with a lot of garbages in it. So you'll be having a lot of missing values, outliers, for example, it might be biased. So there's a lot of different problems. We do start preparing the data, we do start cleaning the data, transforming the data if it is necessary. All we do in a data preparation, we do make our data, we ensure that our data is clean enough. And the next process, we do use IDEs like Jupyter Notebooks, for example. It can be any kind of an IDE that you want to use. It can be a VS Code, for example, any kind of an IDE that you wish to go forward. So this is where our data engineers and data scientists, for example, they started writing a code, they started writing a script. So why do we write a script? Obviously, the ultimate game that we are playing with the data here, we have a data, we need to take a data, we want to teach the data to a machine, right? So if you want to teach a data to a machine, consider that this is your machine. You need to mention what kind of a machine that you're using, where is your machine is, where is your data is coming from. All those informations we need to provide, right? So we do provide those informations in this particular script, right? Once we have all this information, we pick a machine and we start feeding a data to it. So it started learning the data. It started identifying various different patterns from it. So once a machine has been trained, so then we have something called test data that we have kept it aside, and we use this test data to test our machine. And if you're really satisfied with the results that is being produced by your machine, so then we want to register this model, which is going to be a final end product. After you teach a data, it produces something called ML model, and we want to register this ML model and something called a model registry. So what is this model registry? Consider that throughout the life cycle of that particular project, consider that we are building ML models. Throughout the life cycle of that ML project, we might not build only one ML model, we might build thousands of ML models, for example. So where are you going to version that thousands of ML models? Are we going to put it in a zip file and put it in your PC? Is that a way? No. So there is something called model registries that we do use today in order to version your ML models. Consider that in your model registry, you might have multiple versions of your ML model. Let's say you have version 1, let's say you have version 2, let's say you have version 3. Consider that your version 3 of your ML model is pretty much awesome. It has a good accuracy and good results. What do we do in the next step? So this is where we go for a deployment process. So now we have a model. Now I want to Dockerize that ML model and I want to deploy it into a Docker platform. But when it comes to deployment, there are multiple ways. Let's say I want to deploy it on my Docker platform. Let's say I want to deploy it on top of a Kubernetes platform. Let's say I want to deploy my ML model on top of real-time endpoint on top of a cloud, or maybe to a batch endpoint, or let's say I want to deploy my endpoint to the serverless framework. There are multiple options for multiple industries here. Consider that in this use case, let's say I'm Dockerizing my ML model. Let's say I'm deploying it on some kind of a Docker platform. Perfect. What happens next? Now I deployed my ML model. So this is where our developers now comes into the picture. So they build a beautiful web application or an Android applications, so where our customers can start using our ML model. Okay, so this is a very typical workflow of creating a machine learning model. But what it takes to build MLOps, the complete robust MLOps pipeline, we are yet to understand. Let's get started. So we understand what is exactly a machine learning or data sciences. It's all about studying about an algorithm. So where a mathematical models that your computer system uses progressively improve on a specific task. So we do use various different programming languages to write a script. It can be Python, it can be R, it can be C, or it can be low code, it can be a no code services even, right? So we do have our data engineers and data scientists, someone who works in a code, and we have ML engineers, someone who's going to take that models and deploy it. Okay, so lot of things. Let's try to dive deep into those things one by one. Let's get started. So we are getting started with our actual program right now. So what is MLOps? Right, that's a question. So machine learning operations. So before we understand machine learning operations, we need to understand the reality. Okay, so I promised you I will help you to look into next 5 years and 10 years, right? So here we go. The first step, it starts from here. So what is the current state of machine learning in the world? So what does every organizations are doing currently? So okay, here is the data. So this data is grabbed from AWS AI Conclave from Bangalore, which happened last January. What AWS says, so last decade, so in order to understand the current state of machine learning, let's try to go back to last decade. Let's try to do time travel and let's go back. So what happened last 10 years? Let's say I'm talking about some early 2000, 2005, something in that particular point, right? So consider that the reality is at that particular point, every organization has a lot of data sitting in their organizations, but they do nothing with that data. That's the reality. So that's the point. They see the real value add they can do with the data. So they started hiring a data engineers and data scientists, for example, so who can able to build an ML model. So as I mentioned, the focus for every organizations at that particular point is actually to build a ML model. Operationalizing that ML model or deploying that ML models to production is not a plan. That's a reality. So every data engineers today and every data scientist today, they have a good knowledge in data engineering to prepare and create a data pipelines and to build an ML model. But do you have a production skills to deploy your ML model, to work with MLOps pipelines, to work with the tools? That's a question mark today. That's what exactly the world is trying to deal with. And if we try to imagine today what's really happening, so 53% of organizations, they are trying to make their POCs into production. So they have built models. Now they are trying to get into the production. But what's lagging, it's taken an average of 9 months to do that, and there's a major skill gap. So, and what might happen by end of 2024, I'm not talking about next 5 years or next 10 years, I'm just talking about next 1 year. By end of 2024, it's expected 75% of organizations, they will start shifting their models to production. They will be started thinking about operationalizing their AI. That's once they're getting their ML models into production, we call it as AI at the end of the day, right? So that's a reality. But still, what is MLOps, right? That's a question. What is this MLOps? MLOps stands for machine learning operations. So machine learning operations is basically a set of practice for collaboration and communication between various different stakeholders who are part of building ML models. So you are, let's say here we have a lot of data scientists, data engineers, we have DevOps people, software engineers too. So what do you think, who is responsible for building ML models in industry? Do you think there's a one fancy role that we always talk about, data scientist, right? But no, that's not a person who does everything in that organization. But yes, data scientist builds an ML model which is going to be part of final end product. But there are different stakeholders who are part of building ML models. So we do have data analysts, we do have data engineers, we do have a data scientist, we do have someone called ML engineers. ML engineers are otherwise we call it as deployment peoples or DevOps peoples, operational team, for example. We have developers. So the collaboration and communication between them, what we call it as MLOps. So by applying these practices, we can able to increase the quality and simplify the management process of how we build, train, deliver your ML models to production. As simple as that. See, MLOps is all about automation. MLOps is all about building an automation to deliver your machine learning models or deep learning models to large scale production environment. That's what exactly MLOps is. So in order to automate the process of you deploying your ML models to the production, we do use lot of tools today. Right? So let's try to understand those things. So before that, let's try to understand the high level view of MLOps. So MLOps, as I'm talking about in high level, so MLOps is a discipline that sits intersection between the various domains. For example, it can be the domain of machine learning, the domain of DevOps, and domain of data engineering, the intersection of what it is, what we call it as MLOps. So let's say this intersection of these practices, when they are coming together, they can really drive value how we build, deliver, and manage your machine learning models. Otherwise, let's say as this discipline enabled by the core set of practices, when we have people's process and technology is coming together, then only the MLOps best practices can be implemented in any different organizations. Okay, that's perfect. So now let's try to understand the MLOps challenges. Let's try to understand what are the traditional challenges that we have in the process of implementing MLOps today in every organization. So the challenges are like, we do understand in the process of you creating and managing a machine learning workflow, we ran into a lot of different challenges. So you know that ML model building involves multiple steps. For example, data preparation step, model training step, and model development step. Let's try to understand what's really happening. So not only we do have these steps, but there is really a lot goes into stitching these things together. For example, we have to stitch data preparation to model training to model development. So how does this happen? So let's try to start discussing in terms of data preparation. So what do we do in a data preparation? So in your data preparation step, consider that you might contain one to many tasks. For example, let's say we have a raw data, the customer data. We want to take the data and eventually we want to convert the data into training data, testing data, evaluation data. We split the data altogether in data preparation step. So in model training step, what we do? In your model training step, you might have some additional steps inside your model training. So whether you're doing a single model training or you might be running a multiple different experiments using hyperparameter optimization. So consider that you might not get a best model most of the time, let's say in a one single go. So let's say you do use hyperparameters. Basically, those are dials and knobs in order to adjust where your machine learns the data and produces a best ML model outside. So let's say you might produce multiple versions of your ML model, multiple iterations. You might have 10 iterations. 10 iteration produces 10 ML models, for example. So let's say now in the process of deployment, what we do. So in your deployment step, you might have only one step in the workflow, or it could have many tasks underneath it. For example, let's say it could be deploying your models to staging environment, otherwise what we call it as a dev environment. Otherwise, let's say you want to deploy your ML models to production environment, and let's say you might have a different controls even for deploying your ML model. Maybe you don't want to manually go and, let's say you don't want to let's say automatically deploy your ML model. Instead, let's say I want to have some of my teammate manually goes and approves your ML model to deployment. See what I'm trying to say, let's say when it comes to deployment environments, usually we will be having, let's say, two environments. For example, let's say we will be having something called a dev environment, and let's say we will be having something called a production environment. So production environment is something that is faced by your customers. So the customers, for example. So the production environment, that is something that is consumed by your customers. That is day-to-day customers. They use ML models to make some predictions from the models that you are deployed, basically, right? So this is your customers, and let's say the dev environment is only for internal team. For example, it is for your data scientists, this is for your data engineers, this can be for your ML engineers and MLOps engineers, for example. So what is the process here? Let's say once we build an ML model, initially we deploy our ML model to dev environment. So dev environment is an exact replica of a production environment, but there is no interconnections between a dev and production. So initially we deploy our ML models to dev environment, and then your internal team, let's say your data scientist, senior data scientist, anyone, so goes and evaluate your dev environment. So whether your model is working fine as you intended, whether your KPIs that you configured has been met, so whatever you configured, let's say it is up to the mark or not. So if you do all the evaluation, and if you're really satisfied with that, so then only you'll be again deploying the same ML model again back to the production, basically. So that's how it works. So we'll be having a multiple environments, so dev, production, testing, and we might have a multiple environments too. So consider that, let's say once your model training is over, we don't want to automatically go and deploy your ML model, but instead, let's say we need to have a process. Let's say I want to manually approve my ML model. Let's say I want my data scientist or maybe senior data scientist, anyone, to manually go to a dev environment and click the approval button in order to deploy your ML model manually. Similarly, I want to deploy my ML model based on a manual approval process to the production. Because what happens if you automatically deploy your ML model? What if the model is up to the mark? Right? So these are the traditional challenges what we came across. So let's say there are a lot of different steps, obviously, a lot of different dependencies has to work together to ultimately build this and build out something that provides an iteration across the life cycle of how you build, train, and deploy your ML models. Also to provide, let's say, end-to-end traceability that really matters. So end-to-end traceability to track the models, what kind of a model that you're going to deploy to dev environment, what version of a model that you're going to deploy, what version of a model that you're going to deploy to production environment. There are a lot of different challenges pretty much involved here. So, but one more term that we need to understand when we talk about MLOps, a lot of people also talk about DevOps. There is something called DevOps. Is this DevOps and MLOps, they are exactly same? That's what the question people do ask. Let's try to understand that. So what are the challenges when it comes to the MLOps challenges that are similar to DevOps? Let's try to understand DevOps in a very simplest term. DevOps is a practice, it's an automation technique that we use in order to deliver your softwares to production. Let's say you have a new software, the new version of a software that you need to release to the production, we use DevOps practices. Yes, DevOps and MLOps are pretty much different, but we do use some DevOps, the traditional DevOps tools in MLOps also. For example, let's say the challenges in operationalizing ML models has a lot of common things compared with software production. For example, we do use something called CI/CD practices in DevOps. Yes, we do use same kind of a CI/CD tools in MLOps also. So the source and version control tools that we do use in DevOps, yes, we do use same kind of a source and version control tools in MLOps also, obviously. But you know that a lot of times what we call it as the CI/CD tools, and they are not necessarily built for machine learning separately. So in a reality, you might use different combinations of tools and integrations. Sometimes there are purpose-built tools for data preparation that you might build. You might build a purpose-built for tools for model training and for model deployment. So you know that all these things, it can be complicated and challenging, and the great challenge is stitching everything together. And more complicated than this can be, there is no a golden pipeline that you can follow. Consider that. What do you mean by golden pipeline? Let's say today, if I draft an architecture, not every organization can use the same architecture, because the structure of that organization is different. The tools you might need to integrate might be vary for various different organizations. There is an organization who might use AWS, there might be an organization who might use Azure or GCP. There are organizations who might use multiple clouds. There are organizations, they might use open source tools. So what is so much common is going to be the steps and the core concepts that I'm going to recommend in this particular course. It's going to be same. So let's try to understand with a simple story, right? Let me just tell you a story, okay? So it's not going to be a boring story anyway. Let's try to understand this MLOps workflow pretty much in a very simple story. Let's consider that we'll go back to 2020, maybe the beginning of 2020. So at the time of, let's say, you know what happened in 2020, but let's consider that we are building ML models for data owners. Let's say for data owners, we are trying to build an ML model to predict what is the revenue they're going to make. Otherwise, what are the tickets, total number of tickets they're going to make a sales. Okay, so let's say we are trying to build an ML model. At that particular point, let's say we didn't care about automation. I mean, we didn't care about MLOps at all. Let's say we brought our data manually, we trained our models, ML models manually, and let's say we deployed it on some kind of a deployment platform. No automation at all. And as a data scientist or any person, let's say you might have imagined that, let's say this model is going to completely work fine for next 10 years. That's what your expectation. But in a reality, your model just failed in next 3 months. The reason is COVID, for example. You know what happened in COVID in 2020? Instead of we going for theaters, we went to our home for a lockdown, obviously, right? So at that particular time, no one watched movies in theaters, right? So, and the model that you're trying is being drifted because there's no enough data to support, and the data is being drifted. So, but one more thing, so one more change does happen during COVID. Obviously, we didn't go for theaters, but we started subscribing to OTTs. Consider that we started subscribing to Amazon Prime, Netflix, for example. It can be Disney Plus, Hotstar, whatever it is. Yes, still people can able to start watching movies, but not in theaters, in OTTs. See, here you failed because you didn't had enough tools to monitor your ML models in production. You don't have a model monitoring tools in order to understand whether your customers data has been drifted, whether your data drift happened or not, for example. And again, you didn't had a tools to capture a data. Consider that you have a 2 categories of data right now. Consider that before COVID, you have different category. After COVID, you have a different category. Otherwise, we are calling about 2 versions of a data. So there are tools today that is available to version your data. You need to also version your code that is written by your data scientist. And there are tools for versioning your ML models. So you produce multiple ML models and you need to version that all those ML models basically. And we have a tools that we need to use in order to monitor your ML models to ensure that your model is working fine completely in a production. So that's what I'm trying to say, that when it comes to MLOps, it's not like DevOps, but we do use a lot of different tools here. So, but yes, we do use traditional DevOps tools, starting from source and version control tools. Let's say as a data scientist, as a data engineer, we write a lot of code. And this code, just imagine if you are a software developer or a data scientist, data engineer, how many times you might have changed the code? Have you versioned all this code? No, right? So that's why the source version control is really important. And we do understand tracking and versioning a data is a next level. We need to, because the game that we are trying to play here, it's all about data. We need to version our data. And again, let's say you have a 2 categories of customer data. What I'm trying to say, that means you're going to have a 2 versions of your ML models. So where are you going to version your ML models? You can ask a question here saying that, Sharath, can't we use source version controls tools like GitHub itself to version a data or to version your ML models? No, not possible. It is not the right practice. You can't do it because source version controls like GitHub tools are not made for storing a huge data. So that's why we have a dedicated tools for that. That's why you need to upgrade those tools as a knowledge from you. So saying that, we are going somewhere here, but Sharath, tell me, how do I master MLOps? Right? What it takes to master MLOps? Let's get started. The second thing that we need to discuss in this particular program. Let's go ahead. From this point, please make sure you pay more attention, and please make sure you don't leave the meeting, because the important things are yet to come. So if you stay till the end of this particular program, you can able to enjoy the live demo that I have arranged on top of AWS. And more than that, you can download the free ebooks only if you stay till the end of this particular program. And where I'm going to put the efforts to show you how the future for next 5 years and 10 years looks like for you. Okay, saying that, let's try to understand the MLOps components here. Let's say if we talk about MLOps, what it does it hold? Let's say we'll be getting started with the use cases, obviously, right? So the use case discovery, obviously, if in any organization want to get started with ML, they need to have a right use case, the data, all those stuff. So this is where we do some business understanding. We have a business team, data scientists, they will be working together to let's say to define a business problem and translate that into a viable problem statement. And they have objectives to solve by a ML with associated KPIs. All those research will be done here, right? So we do set up the use case identification, data understanding, and we do all the feasibility study. So then only we'll be getting started. So let's say now we have a data, that's perfect. We are getting started with building ML models. Let's say here we do data engineering. So what we do in a data engineering? So here the data engineers, they will be collaborating with data scientists to acquire data. They build data pipelines to bring the data, pre-process it, validate it. So then we study about algorithms. So we pick the right algorithm for our use case. Then we start building our ML models. We start feeding our data to a machine. So then we might not produce one ML model because we might not get best ML model in one trial, but we do multiple iterations, what we call it as model experimentations. We might conduct hyperparameter tuning job. We might go for 10 iterations produce 10 ML models, and we pick a best ML model from it, and we start evaluating that ML model. And if you're really satisfied with that ML model that you're prepared, then we'll be thinking about model serving. So all this process, learning, here all this automation that I'm talking about will happen under machine learning pipelines. So here we do have a ML pipelines where everything happens automatically. As a data scientist, as a data engineer, you don't go and hit on this run button in your Jupyter notebooks to run your code. Instead, everything automatically happens. Here we are talking about automated data preparation, automated model training, automated model evaluation, and automated deployment too. So now let's ensure that we have the right kind of a model. So now we need to start thinking about production deployment. So as I mentioned, you might deploy ML models to various different resources. Docker, Kubernetes, MLflow, Kubeflow are various different other resources that we are planning to deploy our ML models basically, right? So now let's say in the process of deploying your ML models, let's say here, this is where we need to build an automation. So here we need to integrate with CI/CD pipelines basically. So where I want to automatically Dockerize my ML model, I want to go ahead and deploy my ML model to production basically. And we integrated, we operated, and then we started integrating a model monitoring tools. Not just a model monitoring tools. Let's say here we need to monitor the entire infrastructure. See, consider that monitoring your ML models in a production is a one job, but consider that this entire infrastructure that you have built, we have to monitor the entire infrastructure. You need to monitor how your data preparation is happening, how your model training is happening, where is your data is coming from, your data version tools, a lot of things, right? So this is where the production monitoring will be implemented. So we need to keep on monitoring your ML models in a production and your infrastructure basically. Okay, so that's what it takes. So now let's move on to the very, very important slide. Let's say if any organization is going to implement the top level, we call it as a maturity level for any different organization. So not every organization is going to implement the top level architecture, but they will be started implementing step by step. So we call it as a maturity level. The maturity level start from level 0. They go from level 1, level 2, blah, blah, blah. They go for level 4. So the level 4 architecture, the level 4 maturity level is the top most level of architecture. So what every organizations are trying to do today, they're trying to move from automated ML workflow to integrated CI/CD practices, right? So they no more, they just don't want to take a data, prepare, train, and build. They want to implement an automation here. So what it takes. So let's try to pay more attention here. So this is what it takes for you to become a specialist in understanding all the different variants of tools that we need to use. Let's say we'll be getting started with again a ML project identification. Let's try to understand, okay, there's an organization, there's a use case, that is pretty much good. So now we are talking about a data, correct? We understand that your data keeps on changing. There are higher chances that once your business environment is changing, your data is changing. That's good. So then what we do, this is where we integrate tools like data version control tools, we call it as DVC. So there are different tools today that's available in the market in order to version your data. For example, there is a very famous open source tool, we call it as DVC, which stands for data version control. AWS has their own data version control tool, Azure has its own, Vertex has its own, and there are pretty much more open source tools. And then comes data pre-processing. So as part of a data pre-processing, this is where our data engineer, he will be start writing a code, a script in order to prepare cleaner data. So this is where he will be writing a code, isn't it? And how many times our data engineer might change the code, right? How do I track it? This is where I integrate that with code repositories. For example, it can be GitHub, it can be something on AWS called code commit, something on Azure, Azure repositories are something on GCP. So then comes the next process, model building process. This is where our data scientist comes into the picture. Again, our data scientist will start writing a code in order to pick a data, the machine, everything. And again, the code that is written by our data scientist will be again integrated with our code repositories. Perfect. What we do next, we have a data, we have a code, we have a data version control tools, everything. That's perfect. So obviously, now we can take a machine and we can start teaching a data to this machine. Okay, that's good. In order to teach a data, you need to decide what features that you need, and these features can be fetched from a feature store. Wait a minute, what is this features? You might have a question. So consider that we are trying to train an ML model to predict electricity bill forecast. Consider that what are the features that I might have in my electricity bill forecasting. Let's say I might have a voltage, the current, and let's say I might have a bill, the bills that I might pay in a previous months, and I might have other values like power, for example, right? I might have a power. So let's say in order to train an ML model, let's say I might have a multiple features, and you can able to use this feature store for that. So what is this feature store? Feature store is a schema repository where we keep the features of our ML model, but feature store is not a database where we keep a data. It's just a schema. We can able to version a multiple versions of a features here. So consider that together. So consider that together with the voltage, current, and bill amount, this can be a version 1. Let's say inclusive of voltage, current, and power, this can be a version 2. So we might use multiple features. You might train multiple ML models for solving the different problems in the same industry. And we use this feature store in order to fetch the right kind of a feature for you to get started with the model training. So now you have a features. Now you have an ML model. So now what happens after you training your ML model? So you will be having something called model artifacts. So what is this model artifacts? So model artifacts has the final ML model along with that. So you'll be having ML model, and along with the model, you'll be having some metadata. So consider that you'll be having a model and you'll be having other properties of your ML model. Consider that what kind of a data that you used, what kind of a model version it is, all those informations, metadata will be stored in the model artifacts. What is next? So now we have an ML model. So what we're going to do, we have to version this ML model. So this is where we're going to use model registries. For example, there are different kind of model registries that are available in the market today. So for example, MLflow, which is a very famous open source model registry that's available today. Yes, we do cover MLflow in our program. And every cloud platform, SageMaker in AWS, they have a model registry. Vertex AI in GCP, they have a model registry. And Azure Machine Learning Studio, they have their own model registry. We use these model registries to version our ML models. Let's say we have a multiple versions of ML models, version 1, version 2, version 3, something like that. So now what is next? Obviously, now we have a ML model. Now we need to go ahead and we start deploying our ML model to production. So what we do, so here we integrate everything with the CI/CD pipelines where we start building our ML models. Let's say I want to pick the best version. Consider that the version 3 is the best version, and now I want to Dockerize my ML model, and let's say I want to deploy it to my Docker platform. And now after that, I want to implement my monitoring jobs where I need to keep on operate it, and we need to keep on monitor our ML models and the complete infrastructure that I have built so far, right? So I have built an infrastructure for data, the code, the features, the model registries. I need to keep on monitoring our ML models and also the entire infrastructure in a production. And we started implementing a feedback loops along with the quality gates. What is this feedback loops and quality gates that I'm talking about? Let's say I want to take a decision in order to deploy my ML model, whether it's the right model to be deployed to a production or not. How do I make that particular decision? For example, let's say based on my evaluation metrics, let's say I'm going to decide I'm going to use this automated quality gates in such a way, saying that, let's say if my ML model, consider that I'm going to calculate my metrics. For example, I used to say MSE. MSE stands for mean square error. Let's say it's a metrics that I calculate in the process of training your ML model. So let's say MSE, if my MSE score is less than or equal to 7, consider that if my MSE score is less than or equal to 7, then only I register my ML model to model registry. Otherwise, if it is greater than 7, it don't register my model to model registry. That's how you evaluate whether it's the right model to be deployed to production or not. Similarly, you can also implement automated quality gates in the side of data preparation also. You can also use data checkpoints in order to check whether your data is clean and it's free from outliers, biases, all this stuff. Saying that, this is what it takes to build a successful MLOps pipeline. It's a level 4 architecture what we're talking about. So now, wait a minute, that's good. Pretty much, you got it, right? But now you might ask a question. Sharat, I'm a data scientist, I'm a data analyst, I'm a ML engineer, I'm a DevOps engineer, I'm a developer. So what is my role here? What I'm going to do here? What is my responsibilities? So to understand this, let's dive into the different roles involved in MLOps. So consider that. So developing a successful machine learning project definitely involves varieties of experiences here and extreme collaboration between them. So for example, first of all, we need to answer a couple of questions. So for example, any organization, if they want to have all these roles, first of all, they need to have a right use case and they need to have enough budget. A lot of different things comes into the picture, right? So it depends on an organization. So for example, the usual roles looks like this basically. So let's say, first of all, let's say we will be getting started with our data analyst. Yes, data analysts are part of MLOps. So data analysts, they will be closely working with our product managers and a business team, and they will be driving the value from a user data. So they'll be using range of tools like SQL, Excel sheet, data visualization tools like Tableau or Power BI. So they build beautiful visualizations to understand the data, and also data analyst also comes into the picture post deployment. Let's say there's a lot of data going on in our pipelines. We have metrics from our pipelines, and we have a metrics from your ML models. So data analyst here plays a very important role to build beautiful visualizations and tell a story about it, obviously. Then comes our data engineers. So here, data engineers, they will be also working with making sure that infrastructure to collect the data, transform and pre-process the data is done. And our data engineers, they will be working with data version control tools as I discussed. Our data engineers, they will be working with feature stores, and they will be using other tools like Spark, Hadoop, ETL tools to bring clean transformer data. Obviously, then comes our dear data scientist. So you know what our data scientist does? They build ML model. So they take a data from our data engineers and they build actual ML model, which is going to be a final end product. And you might also see some kind of a roles like research and applied scientists, but usually you don't see these roles in all the organizations. But usually organizations who are working on a cutting edge technologies, like you will be responsible for developing a new algorithm for varieties of product related areas they are working on. Then comes ML engineers or DevOps team. So when it comes to ML, we do call them as ML engineers. Pretty much in ML industry, we don't call it as DevOps team, but few organizations they do call. So ML engineers or DevOps peoples are basically, they are peoples, or we call it as deployment people, someone who maintains the infrastructure. So their work will be overlapped with data engineers. They largely focus on ML models and related infrastructures, as I mentioned. So they will be closely working with data scientists. They will be taking the model from a data scientist and they will be deploying it to the deployment platforms, obviously. And in few organizations, you might also expect they will be looking forward for the role where you need to have both data science skill sets and ML engineering skill sets also. Then comes our developers, right? The last piece of a puzzle. So they will be integrating everything that other people has built together with a main application. Obviously, the customer facing application will be built by our developers. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, let's get going and let's try to understand more interesting facts like this. Now, let's try to understand MLOps versus DevOps. Obviously, we will try to understand. So we are talking about MLOps here and how it is related to DevOps. Let's try to understand this difference by using a simple slide here. So here we have DevOps. Okay, so 1 second, folks. Okay, here we go. So we are talking about DevOps here. So DevOps it's all about software delivery. Let's say whenever a software engineer makes a new version of a software, let's say now I want to deliver this software to a production. So here we are talking about building a generic application. So here, when it comes to software development, we use some standard set of libraries, depends on the use case that you're going to solve. And the version control involves tracking your changes on your code definitely, and artifacts. So artifacts is basically the final software that we are producing. For example, it can be a jar file. So consider that you're building a Java application, folks. What will be your final end product? It can be a jar file, right? So I'm talking about an executable jar file. So how do you evaluate your software? We do a lot of different kind of testings like unit test, UAT, a lot of other testings, but I just mentioned one testing here. And let's say when it comes to the roles, obviously there are software engineers and DevOps professionals usually. Software engineer, someone who makes a code, and DevOps engineers takes that application and he deploys it to the production. So then comes MLOps. When it comes to MLOps, here we talk about building an ML model to make predictions, to make decisions. You know that if you're a data scientist and data engineer, we use a broad scope of tools, languages, and libraries. Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn, right? Just imagine the range of libraries that we use. And we use range of different tools. We need a tools for versioning a data. We need a tools for versioning your models. We need a tools for versioning your source code, your features, and lot of other tools. And your artifacts will be serialized. And we do, how do we evaluate your ML model? We do evaluate our ML model based on different kind of metrics. It can be model performance, right? And there are different roles that is involved in the process of building this MLOps pipelines. Data scientists, machine learning engineers. I just mentioned two peoples here, but all the peoples that I mentioned here will be part of that particular pipeline process. Saying this, so now let's move on to the very important slide. Different tools for MLOps, right? The different set of tools that is available in the market that people's do, I mean, that organizations does users in order to build this level 4 architecture, for example. Let's get going. So we are looking for very powerful tools, production grade tools for versioning your data, the code, experiment tracking, model registries, and model monitoring, right? So probably this particular slide, the tools might not be clearly visible for you, but I'm just going to open a browser so we can able to take a look. See, what are we trying to do here? We are trying to build ML models and deploy to the production. So what are the usual process that's involved in that? Obviously, we do data collection, labeling, we do data exploration. I mean, basically data preparation, what I'm talking about. So once you have a data, we want to train the data to a machine. Then we want to deploy that ML model. Take a data, teach a data to a machine, it produces ML model, and we want to go ahead and deploy it to the production. So in order to build an automation around it, that's where MLOps comes into the picture. And we use range of tools that you are seeing here in order to build that automation. So let's say we are getting started with kind of an IDEs that we do use. Obviously, we use IDEs like Jupyter Notebooks, IntelliJ, Visual Studio Code, the range of different kind of IDEs wherever your data engineers and data scientists want to write a code. And then comes the code repositories, right? Obviously, our data engineers, data scientists want to publish a code. They want to version a code. So we use different kind of code repositories like GitHub, Bitbucket, something on AWS, something on Azure. Then comes data labeling. Let's say if we're working on any supervised learning technique, computer vision, right? Classification use cases, we need to start labeling our data. So then comes data exploration and data visualization. So obviously here we use range of tools like Matplotlib, Seaborn, and other visualization tools in order to visualize the data, to understand what's happening in your data. Then comes feature engineering. Let's say you need to do a feature engineering on top of your data. Let's say we use sklearn and we use other commercial tools. Let's say a feature tool is a commercial tool, it's a subscription tool. And we have very famous tool called Feast. We use Feast to build a feature store. Then comes model training. Let's say you have a data, now you want to train your ML model. So we use range of algorithms, depends on your use case. It can be XGBoost, it can be TensorFlow, it can be Keras, it can be any different algorithm. So now let's say you have built an ML model, correct? You have a prototype. Now you need to deploy this prototype in some kind of a deployment platform and you need to validate it. So here we might deploy it on a Jupyter Notebooks itself. Otherwise, we might deploy it on platforms like Streamlit to evaluate your ML model. Then comes model debugging and visualization tools. Consider that in the process of you building your ML models, we generate a lot of data. Experiments, we need to visualize our experiment data. For that, we do use a lot of tools like TensorBoard, which is open source, Neptune.ai, which is commercial tool, our weights and biases, commercial tool. Let's say if you want to hyperparameter tune your ML models, we use tools like Tuner, Keras Tuner, and other things. Look, so then if you want to track your experiments, not just model training, let's say you want to track your data preparation experiments. So we use tools like MLflow. MLflow is a very famous open source tool, which is used for versioning your ML models and also to experiment tracking. And then comes packing your ML model. Let's say you want to pack your ML model, maybe you want to Dockerize your ML model and you want to deploy it. So we use various different tools. Again, we can use MLflow, or you can deploy it on a SageMaker on AWS, or Vertex AI and GCP or Azure. Or you want to deploy it on a Kubernetes platform through Kubeflow. And now you need to serve your ML models. Let's say you want to serve your ML models to production. It can be AWS, SageMaker endpoint, Vertex AI endpoint, or it can be Azure endpoint, doesn't matter. So, but we have various different tools. And let's say here comes the workflow orchestration. Let's say we want to create a workflow, the automation. So the machine learning engineers, basically. So let's say here we might use various different set of tools like Apache Airflow. Let's say if you want to run your entire workload on top of, let's say, a Kubernetes platform. So here we do use Kubeflow or ZenML or Metaflow. There are different kind of tools. And for versioning your data, so there are different tools. DVC is one of the very famous open source tools that we will be covering. So Neptune.ai, Git large files we will be covering, and other such kind of tools. Then comes model registry. So let's say you might produce multiple versions of your model and you need to version these models, and you can able to use tools like MLflow or Neptune.ai, weights and biases, and other commercial tools like Volahai, Domino Data Labs, and other things. Finally, there are tools that you need to be aware about monitoring your ML models like Celdon and other, and there is a very famous open source model monitoring tool called Evidently AI. Or maybe there are, every cloud platforms has their different SDKs to monitor your ML model. Then comes a feature store. Let's say if you want to build a feature store and we want to version multiple features, we can use cloud-based feature stores or open source feature stores like Feast, basically. So this is the range of tools that makes any organization to reach the level for architecture actually. Let's say after completing our MLOps specialization program, so we do have participants always ranging from 2 to 3 years of experience to 18 to 20 years of experience, for example. Like, so now let's say if you're a person, someone who you need to pick a tool for your organization. So how do you pick that particular tool? What are the scenarios that you need to consider? The first thing is whether you're going to open source or a closed source tool. Obviously, we know that open source tools are always free and you can easily integrate with your application. But the one of the difficult part of it, let's say if you have only few developers who knows about that particular tool, otherwise if that is an open source tool which has very less documentation support, then it's going to be difficult. Then comes platform versus a specific tool. Let's say you're going for a commercial tool, let's say you pay a subscription for them, they got everything in a one single platform. Are you going to go for a cloud-based platform? That's another thing. Then comes production environment monitoring and model monitoring. As we discussed, we understand the importance about monitoring your models and infrastructure. The kind of a tool that you're going to pick, does they offer environment for you to monitor your ML models to ensure that your bugs are documented and addressed in the meantime, and anything related to security and compliances concerns are addressed. Then comes the very important scenario in choosing MLOps pipelines is model templating and cataloging. So what I'm trying to mention here, let's say tomorrow in your organization, you might not build only one MLOps pipeline for one project. I mean, you don't work with only one project. Tomorrow you might work with multiples of projects tomorrow, maybe more than 10 or 100 projects. So you don't want to reinvent the wheel again and again, isn't it? Because here in MLOps, we have a capability to create a templates and catalog your templates. And so this will provide a way you can able to use the same exact template to build any different kind of project. Consider that you want to work on NLP, deep learning, computer vision. I mean, what we're talking about CV, or maybe any classical model deployment, any kind of LLMs, for example, you can able to use the same exact template to deploy your ML models to production. Saying that, then comes model training, tuning, and drift management. So we need an automation. So here all we talk about automation here, we don't want to manually go and run a code, build model, manually go and deploy. We want automated data preparation, automated model training, automated model evaluation, automated model deployment, and automated model monitoring. And if something goes wrong in my model, it triggers the pipeline and we automatically retrain our pipelines again. We're looking for such kind of an architecture. Then comes pipeline management, because as part of a building ML models, you are not the only person who is responsible for that. There are data engineers, data scientists, data analysts, ML engineers, right? So each and every people's plays different role here. We need to trigger notifications, alerts. Let's say if something goes wrong in data preparation step, we need to trigger our data engineer. Something goes wrong in our model training, we trigger our trigger alerts to data scientists. Something goes wrong in a deployment of your models, your CI/CD pipelines fail, we need to trigger notifications to our ML engineers, something like that. Then comes collaboration and communication capability is really important, because consider that MLOps is all about collaboration and communication. Without having a right kind of a tool for you to document your commands, questions, it's not going to be very much a good tool. What if you want to integrate tools like Slack, or you want to integrate project management tools like Jira with your MLOps pipeline? That would be a more productive, right? So now let's move on to MLOps on top of a cloud, right? AWS, Azure, and GCP. First of all, why cloud? We do understand one thing. Cloud is the next big things, right? So we understand that today most amount of the machine learning workloads runs on top of the cloud platform. And again, specific to this 3 different cloud platforms, right? Because most of the machine learning workloads today run on these 3 cloud platforms. That is AWS, obviously they comes first, and then comes Azure and GCP. That's where the more opportunity that's available for you. But the ideology is pretty much simple. What if tomorrow you could able to apply for any different job roles to the any different organization? They're using any this 3 different cloud platforms. That means you'll be having a more options. You have a more options and more job opportunities outside. Yes, when it comes to AWS, or Azure or GCP. So in this MLOps specialization program, in our program, yes, we do cover all the 3 cloud platforms. Yes, we do cover DevOps and MLOps on top of AWS, Azure, and GCP. But that's not enough, isn't it? Because there are organizations who do use multi-cloud. There are organizations they do use only one cloud, and there are organizations who do use cloud and open source along with that. So let's say an organization who works on top of cloud platform, they do also want to use Dockerize their ML model. They want to deploy it on a Kubernetes platforms, which is open source tools. They want to use tools for versioning a data like DVC, right? So yes, we do also cover open source tools in our program. So what are the different set of tools that we will be covering? So starting from Git based tools, yes, we'll be covering GitHub, other code repositories on top of AWS like AWS Code Commit, Google Cloud repositories, and Azure repositories, obviously. So then comes talking about CI/CD, because MLOps is all about automation. We have to understand how continuous integration and continuous deployment works. So we do understand that CI/CD is a practice that is used to deliver a new version of a software to production, the technique that is used in software delivery. So the way it works, something like this. Software, we have a software engineer who makes a software, correct? So let's say a software engineer commits a code to a code repository like a GitHub. See what happens automatically once our software engineer commits the changes, our build process automatically gets triggered. You don't manually press something there. It automatically understands that your software engineer made some changes. It automatically your build software server will start spinning, and it will start building your software. So what do you mean by building your software? Let's say I might writing a Java application, and finally I want to build a jar file, or maybe I want to build MSI, Microsoft installer file, something like that. Otherwise, let's say in an ML model perspective, let's say I have a model pickle files, I want to Dockerize my ML model. And now once your build process is successful, I want to notify the particular software engineer saying that your build process is successful. Then comes testing. We started running testings automatically. Similarly, we do test our ML models in production. and your test is complete, we trigger a notification. Then finally, we started deploying our ML models or softwares to production. So to understand this process in a pretty much simple way, consider this. There is an e-commerce website. So this is your production machine. That means your production customers are currently clicking this green color button to pay something from your e-commerce website. Let's say every time if they want to purchase something, they click on this green color button. Let's say based on the feedback, your customers didn't like the green color button. Let's say you want to update this button to red color. So what our developer is doing right now, the person who makes a software, he converts a green color button into red color button. So now the code has to be committed. So now he pushed the code to a code repository called GitHub. So here we have two different branches. We have dev branch and production branch. You know that dev is for our internal team, production is for customers. Initially, our developer will push a code to a dev branch, and here we use code pipelines on top of AWS. So we use our build software to start building our software, the new changes that is made by a customer. Sorry, our developer made a new changes to our code. Our build software will start building your software. So this happens automatically, and it produces an artifacts that you can able to use this artifacts to deploy it on top of your web server. And again, as I mentioned, we have two different environments here. We have a dev environment. So initially, we deploy our software, the new version of our software, to dev environment. And again, here our developers comes to this machine and they validate whether the button has been changed to red color. Can you able to click this particular red color button? Is that whether the functionalities of that button is working fine or not? You do all the testing. And if you're really satisfied, in the next phase, our developer will push the code to a production, and again our software will be built, and again it will be deployed the new version of a software to our production machine. So that's how it happens. So in the same way, how our MLOps pipeline will work. So here we have our data engineers, our data scientists, someone who making a changes to the code. And now once the changes has been made to the code, automatically your feature engineering step will kick in. So it will start preparing a data. So once your data is prepared, the next step, it will start training your ML models. See what happens after you train your ML models. This is where you produce your ML model, and now we need to evaluate this ML model. And after evaluation, if you're really satisfied with that, now we need to go ahead and register this ML model to model registry. How do you make that decision? This is where the quality gates comes into the picture. So do you remember this quality gates that we discussed? So this is where the quality gates comes in picture. So this is where I write a condition to check. Let's say, for example, if my MSE score, let's say if my MSE score is less than or equal to 7, if this condition is satisfied, this goes and register this ML model to model registry. Otherwise, it won't register your ML model to model registry. Perfect. Consider that now in your model registry, you have multiple versions of your ML model. Let's say I want to pick the best version of your ML model. And now I want to start building it. Maybe I'm trying to Dockerizing my ML model. And once the Dockerizing is done, so let's say I want to go ahead and deploy it on my dev environment first. And again, here our data scientist, senior data scientist, or anyone who is responsible just comes and checks your environment. Does it working fine? Is that working as per your expectations? If everything is satisfied, then finally we deploy the same ML model to production. Along with that, we start also integrating our model monitoring tools in order to monitor our ML model in the production, and also the complete infrastructure monitoring, the end-to-end traceability. So that's what it takes. In order to build this automation, we do use CI/CD pipelines here. There are different kind of CI/CD pipelines that we're going to cover in our program. So saying that we're going to cover code pipelines on top of AWS with integrations with AWS code commit, code build, and code deploy. When it comes to GCP, we'll be covering the DevOps tools on top of GCP, that is cloud build, cloud source repositories, artifact registries, and cloud run and cloud deploy, such kind of tools. When it comes to Azure, yes, we cover the entire DevOps suite of Azure, starting from Azure pipelines, Azure repos, Azure boards, Azure artifacts, Azure test plans, and more. Okay, that's awesome. So what if I want to talk about open source tools? Let's say in my organization, or maybe the job description that you're looking forward, what if you have a keywords like you need to have a good knowledge in Docker, Kubernetes, or something on cloud platforms like AWS EKS or Azure AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service. Yes, definitely you will go through that particular job descriptions. Anyway, So yes, we do cover open source tools like Docker's, Kubernetes from scratch. We'll be doing a lot of projects in order to understand how to build a Docker image, how to deploy this Docker image, how to run this Docker image, how to start getting inferences from the model that we are deployed. Similarly, deploying the Kubernetes clusters and deploying your ML models on top of it. And other open source tools like model management tools. Yes, we do cover MLflow from scratch, deploying the MLflow infrastructure, building, training, and deploying your ML models through MLflow. And yes, we do cover DVC to use DVC to version your data. And again, alternative to DVC, we do have Git large files. And then comes feature stores. We're going to talk about all the different kind of feature stores that's available in the market, starting from talking about SageMaker feature store in AWS, Vertex AI feature store. Yes, we do cover Vertex AI on top of GCP, Databricks, talking about other commercial tools like Tecton, Feast, and HubSpot, and creating your own feature store with DynamoDB and S3. Okay, what is next? Obviously, we do cover cloud ML services to build end-to-end level 4 architecture. So that means, yes, we do cover Amazon SageMaker pipelines to build the level 4 architecture on top of GCP, yes, on top of Azure machine learning pipelines, yes, we do teach you end-to-end how to build the level 4 architecture. So what do you mean by that? So this is where we integrate everything, starting from data to models to deployments to model monitoring tools to everything. And what if in your job description, if they're looking for a tool, something called Kubeflow, that means they're not building pipelines on top of cloud platforms like SageMaker or Vertex AI or Azure Machine Learning Studio. So they are using open source tools like Kubeflow, which is a framework that runs on top of Kubernetes clusters. Yes, we do teach you how Kubeflow works end to end in order to deploy your infrastructure and to build, train, and deploy your ML models. Starting from that, that's not enough. We need to understand how to monitor your ML models in the production. So we do cover SDKs on top of all the different cloud platforms to monitor your ML models. And again, we do cover a lot of open source tools like Evidently AI in order to monitor your ML models in the production. Saying that, we do provide more than that. We do also cover the commercial tools, otherwise automated ML tools, is go as your Gemini Data Labs, Olahai, Weights and Biases, Neptune.ai, H2O.ai. So which are the commercial tools where you can pay a subscription from your, when your organization picking that. So we do also cover that. Then comes post deployment challenges, right? See what are the different challenges that we have apart from building and deploying your ML model. So we have problems related to a scalability, the latency of your ML model. We have software engineering related challenges. We do have challenges in deploying your ML models to edge, like IoT devices, to mobile devices, such kind of stuff. How do we manage that? Yes, we do cover that. Saying that, throughout the time, so we are reaching to the live demo. Here we go. So the lot of time that you guys still, we have more than 40 minutes to complete this particular program. Please make sure you stay till end of this particular program so you can learn more about our actual course. And now here we go. Let's dive deep into the live demo that I've organized on top of AWS. Okay, let's get started. Here we go. Okay, so now what you're seeing now, here is the SageMaker Studio on top of AWS, where I have built end-to-end MLOps pipeline, the level 4 architecture. I hope you understand the workflow, right? Isn't it? So we start from a repositories. So we do have a two kind of a repository, one code repository for building your ML model, another code repository to deploy your ML model basically. So then we have a pipeline section. So where is our actual pipeline is running? So let's say if I double click and go inside this particular pipeline, here we go. So I have my pipeline executed once previously, and you can able to see that this pipeline got succeeded. So if I go to that particular pipeline, you can able to see the graph. So this is what the pipeline workflow. So where do we start? We start from pre-processing a data. So here in this particular use case, I'm solving a problem in order, basically I'm using abalone data set. So what is this abalone data set? So abalone is kind of a seafood. So basically here we are trying to solve a problem in order to predict the age of an abalone, because abalones are restricted to not harvest the seas. I mean, now the farmers have started growing abalones in the farms, and in a market it's a seafood which a lot of people do like it, and the price of an abalone is decided based on an age of an abalone. The entire use case is in order to predict an age of an abalone. Let's say it's a regression model, and the first process in our pipeline is preparing abalone data. So if I click on this particular block, you can able to see that as part of an input, we provide a data, the input, algorithm, everything. But as part of an output, what do we expect? That's a question. So as part of an output, all we are looking forward in the pre-processing a data to split my data into training data, validation data, and testing data. So where I can use this three data to train, validate, and test. So once I have a data, then I go to my train abalone model block. As I expected, this is where I actually train my ML model. And what do you expect as an output of a training your ML model? Yes, you expect a model. So model.tar.gz. So when it comes to AWS SageMaker, it produces a model in a format called model.tar.gz. And we do have the metrics that we have also calculated on all this. On top of training data, we have calculated RMSE score, that is root mean square error value, which is 1.6, and validation data is 2.07 RMSE. Perfect. Saying that, now we have a model. What else has to be done next? So here we have the step for evaluating your ML model. So now if I click on evaluation block, so this is where we calculate various different metrics. Let's say I want to calculate my MSE score, RMSE score, standard deviation, any kind of a metrics that I want to calculate, I calculate here. And I pack that evaluation metrics as a JSON file, and I store it in a S3 bucket. S3 bucket is a kind of a storage platform where we store our data, where I store our metrics, the model, and everything. Then comes then comes check abalone evaluation. So check abalone evaluation is a block, what I call it as quality gate. So this is where I get to decide the kind of a model that I'm deployed, that I want to register, is that a right model or not. So this is where I decide, let's say whether my MSE score, let's say is whether it is less than or equal to 7. If it is less than or equal to 7, then I go ahead and register my ML model to model registry. Otherwise, I don't register that. I take a decision over here. So you can see as an output, all I receive, it's true that my MSE score is less than 7. So now if I go to my register abalone model, you will get to know what is my MSE score. You can see that my MSE score is 4.78. That is 4.78 is less than or equal to 7. The condition is true. That's why it has registered my ML model to model registry already. But how can I see my model? So here we have a model groups. So this is what we call it as a model registry. If I go to my model groups, you can see I have one model group. And if I go inside that particular model group, you can see that I have my first version of my ML model here, which is version 1, which is actually pending for my approval, because you can see as part of a process that I'm talking about, I don't want to automatically go ahead and deploy my ML model. It is waiting for my approval to deploy into production. So now here, as part of a workflow, what we're discussing, we're going to deploy our ML model to both dev and production environment. As I discussed, so first initially, we're going to go ahead and deploy my ML model to dev environment. To do that, just click on version 1. I'll be going to the version 1 profile. So here you can get the complete description, the model version, the version ID, everything. And now if I want to deploy my model to dev environment, I simply update the status. So now it is pending. I will just change it to approve. And here you can just type some commands. Let's say you've done some testing, you have evaluated it, something like that. And you can simply say save and update. That's it. So now your ML model is being approved. Now it is getting deployed to dev, not for production, but still I'm going to show you how to deploy your ML model to production, but it's going to take some time. So how do I see my deployment? Where is my endpoint? So in order to check that, we need to go to our endpoint section. So right now there is no endpoint because it's going to take few minutes to deploy to dev. In the meantime, we have something called experiments here. So what I mean by experiments, do you remember that experiment tracking that I mentioned? So here we have all the 3 experiments that we have conducted. What do you mean by 3 experiments? See, we have prepared a data, we have trained our ML model, we have evaluated our ML model. So those are the 3 experiments that we have conducted. And all those 3 experiments has been registered here. If you go ahead and check this, you can able to get the various different metrics in the process of you registering your ML model. Perfect. Saying that, so now let's go to our endpoint. Let us give it a minute for it to deploy, then we will come back. Okay. Saying that, now we will move on to the third, the most important thing that we need to talk about, the MLOps job industry, right? So here we have a lot of different people joining from data engineering domain, DevOps, data science, ML engineering, right? So we talk about MLOps. MLOps is for whom, right? That's what we are talking about. Let's get started. Who should be part of MLOps? Who should learn MLOps? So are you a data scientist? Are you a data engineer or a data analyst? Are you a research or applied scientist? Are you ML engineer? Are you a DevOps engineer? Are you an aspiring MLOps professional or enthusiast? Are you looking for learning how to deploy your ML models to production? Are you looking for learning Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, Azure, GCP, DVC, Feast, MLOps, certain other kind of tools? Are you an individual, someone who has a coming from a software engineering background, looking for getting into transforming into MLOps? Do you have a interest in your data and AI industry? So you are the best person to get started with MLOps. And now, what if you're talking about some numbers, right? Let's get started. So consider that. So here is the numbers that representing what's an average salary for people who have MLOps skills on their resume. Okay, I'm talking about you can be an existing data scientist, data engineer, ML engineer, a DevOps person. If you have a MLOps skills on top of your resume, how does your salary looks like? So this is the data from sixfigure.com, and you can cross verify it. An average salary for someone who has let's say 2 to 3 years of experience in MLOps. Let's say we're talking about an average salary here. So it starts from 23.1 lakhs per annum. That's the data says. And when it comes to the MLOps engineers salaries, when it comes to US, obviously it's a real big number. It's almost start from $94,000, right? That's a huge number. And so obviously there is a huge demand for ML job vacancies along with MLOps today. Why and how am I validating this? Is considering what's happening today in industry, considering the current state of machine learning. So today's data engineers and data scientists, they have a good skill in building data pipelines, preparing a data and building ML models. But the big question mark is, can you able to deploy your ML models to production? Can you able to work with a team with MLOps skill sets, so you can able to use your own tools? For example, are you a data scientist? Do you have a good knowledge in working with model registries, data version control tools? Do you have a good knowledge working with the feature stores, for example? Right, something like that. Are you an ML engineer? Are you a DevOps person? Do you have a good knowledge in working with CI/CD pipelines, model monitoring tools, and others testing tools for testing your ML models, right? Are monitoring your infrastructure, for example, such certain other kind of things. So, and again, if we talk about the speed of a transformation is happening, we are not talking about next 10 years or next 5 years. I mean, the transformation which happened started already. Talking about the current state of data. And you know that one best example that I always do mention for people is, let's say, just consider how these drones just replaced this choppers and this cameraman just in 10 years. So no more news reporters or movie makers are using these choppers to make HD or 4K movie. They do use these drones. So that's the speed of transformation is happening, and it's really time for upgrading our skills. So now let's move on to the more awaited the time for talking about our MLOps specialization program. So yes, we do have MLOps specialization program starting from 30th of September, right? We are almost in the mid right now. We are almost sold out all the seats for it. We have very limited seats, whatever the seats that are available in the portal. And what is this program is about? So we are starting this program starting from 30th of September. And this program is going to go for 7 weekends, otherwise 7 to 8 weekends, what we're looking forward. And let's say the timings for this particular program would be something like this. Let's say if you're joining from India, so every weekend we'll be having a session. That means every Saturday, Sunday, starting from 30th of September, we'll be having a session from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Otherwise, if you are a person joining from EST time zone, so you will be joining around 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. Otherwise, you are joining from CET time zone, your time zone will be 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. Okay, so let me give you the structure of a program. It's really interesting. So every weekend we'll be having a live hands-on sessions. What do you mean by that? So it's a live instructor lead sessions. I'm the trainer for that particular program. Yes. So where I will be teaching MLOps step by step, and 85% of a curriculum that we have is completely hands-on. That means 85% of the time that you're going to spend with us, you'll be completely packed and busy with building projects on top of AWS, Azure, GCP, open source tools, what we have mentioned. And every Monday, you'll be receiving the access to the recordings of a live session that you attended. And every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we will be having something called debugging sessions. These are optional to attend. So what is this debugging sessions? Let's say during live sessions, let's say you have some errors, some bugs that you couldn't resolve it. During live sessions, you'll be joining a debugging sessions. It's 101, and where you will be sharing a screen where I will be assisting you fix the problems. And let's talk about our MLOps specialization program. So yes, this is a program which is inclusive of not just one cloud platform. It's an inclusive of 3 different clouds: AWS, Azure, GCP, and open source tools. That's why we call it as a 4 pillars. See, what makes you, after complete this particular program, you makes doors open in all the different organizations. You can apply for any different organizations who are looking for AWS, Azure, GCP. And even though they're looking for completely open source, you do have a skills for that. Can we discuss about the pricing structure of the program? Obviously, the long await. And again, please make sure you stay till the end of this particular program. We have some awesome surprises. We are announcing the festival offers, and this is only for the few seats which is available in our portal. Okay, and you can able to download the free ebooks, and still our demo is pending. You can only enjoy this if you stay till end. Still, we have 30 more minutes to end our program, right? So we do have 3 different pricing structures, not 1, 3. Okay, the first, the plan, this particular program starts from Advanced Plus plan, which starts from 47,999. We call it as Advanced Plus plan. Then we have an advanced plan which starts from 41,999. Then we have a basic plan which starts from 39,999. Okay, that's awesome. But why we do have these 3 different pricing structures instead of 1? So this program is customized in a way you can able to grab what exactly that you want from this particular program. So consider that if you're only looking for a skill development, consider that you want to attend live sessions, you want access to recordings, and you have some bugs and errors, you want my help to resolve that. So that's good. You can go for a basic plan. But let's say you're looking from premium support from us post completion the program. So here you can go for advanced or advanced plus. Usually working professionals, they go for advanced or advanced plus. So obviously everything is in basic plan is being part of our advanced and advanced plus. But additional to that, you get some premium features. What do you mean by that? So first is resume preparation is part of a program, and 6 months of technical job support, and then comes a bonus reattendance opportunity. So what do we do in resume preparation, or what we do in 6 months of technical job support? Because a lot of participants, they want to upgrade their skills and they want to go for a better position in their job. So here we do understand, first thing, in the first phase, we do understand what's your current experience. You might be a data engineer, you might be an ML engineer, you might be a data scientist, you might be a software engineer, you might be a DevOps engineer. So first we understand your the profile, then we start helping you build your resume based on what you all learned from this particular program. In the next phase, here comes the 6 months of technical job support. Here we play a very important role. Consider that the next phase, once your resume is good, let's say you're getting some calls, right? So for an interview. So this is where we play a very important role. Before you go for any technical round, we ask for, let's sit for a discussion. So we start helping you decoding your job description, providing an insights regarding this interview. How does this interview is going to be? What kind of questions that you can expect? And more than that, so how you can able to deliver a story, the projects that you mentioned in your resume, how you can able to mention that. So this is what exactly we do. There are 2 categories of people, they do how they utilize this job support. So one category of people where they need assistance in applying for the job and assistance in preparing an interview, kind of a mock interview kind of a stuff. And another categories of participants, they need assistance in, let's say they are working in an organization, maybe in your organization, they're asking you to build a prototype. Even though you have a expertise after completing this program, We can provide you mentoring support. Let's say you need some documentation. Let's say you need some bugs to be fixed. We can able to assist you. Then comes bonus reattendance opportunity. So what is this bonus reattendance opportunity? Is nothing but, let's say you sign up once, but you take the program twice. I mean, you get twice the opportunity to attend live sessions. Consider that you're signing up for a current batch. Even after completing a current batch of a live session, you can retake this complete program once again in the next batch. Consider that, which is going to happen in December, for example, or January, completely for free. So we have a same features in Advanced Plus plan, but additional benefit is instead of you getting 6 months of job support, you get 1 year of job support. But additional to that, you get something called instant access. What do you mean by instant access? Let's say still we have 15 days, I mean more than 15 days for our actual live sessions. And again, you have a 2 months to complete a program. So you don't want to wait till end of the program. Let's say you register for Advanced Plus plan, you get instant access to the recordings in next 24 hours if you complete registration today, let's say. And you can get started with the recordings with the support, and once live session comes, you can start attending the live sessions parallelly. Okay, let's say you're looking for a pricing in USD. So this is how the pricing looks like. Let's say your Advanced Plus plan starts from just $699 and your advanced plan starts from $599 only, and we have a basic plan which starts from $549 only. Okay, and here we go. I don't want to make you wait for this surprise that I'm talking about. Yes, we do have a festival offer. We have a great Indian festival, Ganesh Chaturthi. For that, we are announcing offers. We do have two kind of offers. You can choose one from it. You can go for either a discounted offers. You can go for a discounted offers. Otherwise, you can go for a free upgradation offer. This offers are only till 19th of September because we have very few limited seats. We're just waiting for fill up that particular seats. So what is this offers? Discounted offers and free upgradation offer. So you can take either a discounted offers and or free upgradation offer, but not both. So what is this free upgradation offer that I'm talking about? Option number one. So usually you know that. So a lot of people, they will be pretty much interested to take either advanced or maybe Advanced Plus plan, correct? Right? Yes, here we go. All you need to do when it comes to our free upgradation offer, are you looking for advanced plan where you get 6 months of technical job support, and again you get twice the opportunity to take this program? All you do, go ahead and register for a basic plan, which is just costing 39,999 only, and you will be automatically upgraded. You'll be free upgraded to advanced plan completely for free. So where you can save around 2,000 rupees over there. Otherwise, this again, this process is till 19th of September only. And again, are you looking for Advanced Plus plan? Consider what you get in Advanced Plus plan. You get 1 year of job support and bonus reattendance opportunity. Twice you can take the program and instant access. In next 24 hours, you can start with our program instantly. So all you need to do, just register for advanced plan, which is costing 41,999 only, and you will be upgraded to Advanced Plus plan completely for free. You'll be saving around 6,000 rupees. This applies for the USD also. Okay. So again, this is strictly till 19th of September only. And now let's move on to the festival offer, option number 2, the discounted offers. So what is this discounted offer? Here we go. Okay, you're not interested in upgradation, that's perfect. You can save your money in your basic plan or advanced plan itself. We can start cut down your prices over here. So you can get a maximum of 5% discount on basic and advanced plan. You can use this coupon code to the registration link that I'm going to share, and you can get a maximum of 10% discount on Advanced Plus plan. You can save around 5,000 rupees here. You can save around 3,000 rupees on a basic and advanced registrations. Alternatively, you can also go for a no cost EMI with this particular discounts, because we will be bearing that particular you can get maximum of 6 months of no cost EMI. I mean, it's an EMI, but you can able to use this discount coupons to claim the particular no cost EMI, because this discounts can able to reduce the EMI amount that you're going to pay. So you'll be paying exactly the same amount. Let's say if a basic plan is 39,999, you'll be exactly paying that. Okay, so again, this is strictly to 19th of September. And why do you think Citron Technology is the best people to get started with this particular program? And again, this is not a program we are doing it for the first time. This is our 5th batch for this year itself, for 2023. And again, we are Cyton Technologies Private Limited, and again we are supported by Government of India, incubated in PhD Step Coimbatore, and we been funded by Government of India. And again, we represented ourselves in various different international stages, and you can able to just check out that. And more importantly, I would suggest you to check out testimonials, because our participants talk more about us. So you can able to check this testimonials. We do have participants before completing a program itself, they've been placed in jobs, not just in a medium paying job. We have candidates who've been placed with 100% hike to 60 to 70% of hike. I would really suggest you to check this particular testimonials, because this speaks for us basically. And you can also see our participants who've been placed with 100% hike, and you can able to check out all the testimonials through the PDF that I'm going to share. And now it's finally time to check the curriculum. Okay, so the long await time. So now let's have a quick discussion on what we're going to teach you guys in this next 2 months in 7 to 8 weekends program. So this is a PDF which tells all the story about this particular program. Anyway, you can download this in next few minutes. I'm going to share the links. Okay, let's get started with the curriculum itself. So there are totally 13 modules, 1-3. There are totally 13 modules in this particular program. So the module number 1 is Introduction to MLOps. So this is where we dive deep into the world of MLOps. So we're going to talk about MLOps motivation, the challenges. But here we're talking about MLOps, but what is DevOps, what is AIOps, what is this model ops, and what is this GitOps? We're going to talk about that one. Please do use your chat window, start asking your questions. I'm going to open a session for Q&A. We can have a lot of discussion, please. Okay. And more importantly, we're going to talk about the CI/CD in production case study. This is where we're going to discuss about how other organizations, they have implemented MLOps level 4 architecture on top of AWS or Azure or GCP and open source tools. We're going to talk about all these case studies. And module number 2, this is where we're going to talk about introduction to MLOps and MLOps stages. This is where we're going to talk about versioning, not just code versioning. We're going to talk about data versioning, and we're going to talk about your model versioning, your features versioning, your Dockers versioning, a lot of different things. Testings, CI/CD, reproducibility, deployment, and monitoring. And more importantly, this is where we're going to talk about important architectures like open source tools. Yes, we will be covering Kubeflow. Yes, we'll be covering Apache Airflow. We'll be talking about MLflow with hands-on, Kubeflow with hands-on, Metaflow, Kedros, ZenML, ML Run, RCML. And architectures on top of AWS, we're going to cover the level 4 architecture with hands-on project on top of AWS, GCP, and Azure. Then comes module number 3. This is where we're going to talk about Git, because we understand the importance of versioning a code. We will be getting started from scratch, how to use Git and Git-based commands. Then comes module number 4, CI/CD. Obviously, DevOps is a main core of understanding the automation in MLOps. Yes, we do cover AWS DevOps from scratch, and we'll be doing project on top of it. We'll be covering GCP DevOps end-to-end, and we'll be building GCP DevOps pipelines. Yes, we'll be covering Azure DevOps. We'll be talking about all the tools, and we'll be building Azure DevOps pipeline project on top of it. Then comes module number 5. This is where we're going to talk about Dockers and Kubernetes. So from scratch, understanding what is Dockers, understanding what is Kubernetes, understanding how to Dockerize your ML models, and deploying your ML models on a Docker container. Then comes understanding Kubernetes and deploying your ML models on a Kubernetes clusters. Then comes module number 6, deployment, Kubernetes deployment strategy. So here we will be also deploying to the real cluster on any one of the cloud platform to give you a taste of how production workloads work. Then comes module number 7, introduction to model management. This is where we're going to dive deep into model management, data versioning, code versioning, and again, high level overview of model management tools, like talking about MLflow. So here we're going to help you understand how to deploy MLflow stack and building, training, and deploying your ML models through MLflow stack. Then comes using DVC with hands-on project and talking about Git large files. Then comes module number 8, feature store. This is where we're going to talk about different kind of feature stores like SageMaker, Vertex AI, Feast, Databricks, and others. and we'll be using open source feature stores like Feast to build our own feature store. Then comes module number 9, Cloud ML Service 101. This is where we're going to talk about all the 3 cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, GCP, and where we're going to build level 4 architecture, deploying end-to-end MLOps pipeline using SageMaker Studio, and covering GCP Vertex AI, and deploying end-to-end MLOps pipelines using Vertex AI. Then comes Azure MLOps using Azure Machine Learning Studio. We'll be covering Azure MLOps version 2, which is latestly available in Azure. A lot of different organizations do use MLOps version 2 architecture on top of Azure Machine Learning Studio. Just imagine it will take at least 1 weekend to cover 1 cloud platform for this particular use case. So then comes module number 10, Kubeflow. Yes, we do cover Kubeflow from scratch, deploying Kubeflow infrastructure and building training and deployment of your ML models to Kubeflow infrastructure. Then comes module number 11, introduction to model monitoring. This is where we'll be covering SDKs on top of all the 3 cloud platforms in order to monitor your ML models. Then comes building and hands-on in a real-time project to monitor your ML models in production. Then comes module number 12, that is introduction to Automl tools. We'll be talking about all those Automl tools, and we'll be also planning to provide a 1 demo on top of it. Then comes module number 13, the post-deployment challenges. This is where we're going to talk about the challenges related to software engineering, ML engineering, the issues related to scaling your ML models, reduce latency problems, all those stuff we'll be discussing here. So, and these are the skills that you're going to master, saying that DevOps and Git-based tools, DevOps tools and GCP-based DevOps tools. Then comes open source tools like Kubernetes for MLOps, EKS, MLflow, DBC, SageMaker, Vertex AI, Feast, DynamoDB, SageMaker pipelines, Azure Machine Learning Studio, Kubeflow, Evidently, and more. And these are the list of tools that we will be covering in our particular program. Yep. And you can able to check the pricing details, everything, and you can also check the testimonials that I'm talking about. So you can, all you need to do, just go ahead and click on this particular video. You can able to check the feedbacks, the testimonials from our participants. Okay, saying this, you can also check other testimonials here. So saying this, now let me just quickly share the link before we going forward back to our demo. So here are the links that you need. Okay, so the first link that I'm going to share a links in the chat window. The first link is for registration. So the second link where you can able to download the PDF, the curriculum that I'm showing till now, this PDF. And the third link is for downloading the free ebooks that I promised. And below is my contact number. So I would suggest you folks to contact me. You might have some additional questions to ask, and you can take your time. Now you can able to start answering you, and I can start answering your questions. Okay. And below is our testimonials. I will share my testimonials later. Now let us quickly go ahead and let's check in our environment what's happening with deployment of your ML models now. Okay, perfect. So now let us take a look, and here we go. I'm in a endpoint section, and you can see that my model has been deployed already, and it says in service. All I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my endpoint details. I'm going to copy my endpoint. If I go to AWS settings, so this is where you can able to see this HTTPS REST API, what your developers can able to use in order to make predictions. And here is a sample script that I'm using in order to make predictions. All I'm going to do, I'm going to remove my endpoint name. I'm going to save it. I'm going to start making predictions from the model that is deployed to dev. Here we go. It has predicted an age of an abalone. It says 8.17. That means that's an age of an abalone basically. So now, in order to deploy your ML model to production, we have to use CI/CD pipelines in order to deploy your ML model. So, but I will be showing deployment of your ML model to production in few minutes. So now you can, I'm officially opening a session for Q&A. You can start asking your questions. You can unmute your mic. You can talk to me, and let's talk together. In the meantime, you guys going to ask me a question. I'm going to answer a few questions in a chat window. So here we have Mohammed asking, are deep learning and NLP required MLOps? Definitely yes. So Mohammed, just consider that you could able to build a deep learning model. Perfect, that's good, fair enough. How are you going to integrate? How are you going to deploy your ML model? Let's say tomorrow you might retrain your ML model, and you might produce a new version of your ML model. Again, you're going to manually go ahead and you're going to deploy your ML model to production. So how that process works. So you need to integrate with pipelines basically. Okay, folks, go ahead, ask your question. So here we have a Kiran asking what are the prerequisites. So as I mentioned, the prerequisites to join this particular program. So let's say, are you a person, are you aligning to any of this? For example, let me just start sharing my slide once again. So are you a person, are you an existing, let's say, data scientist, data engineer, data analyst? Are you a research or applied scientist, ML engineer, DevOps professional? Are you someone trying to deploy your ML models? Are you a person interested in your AI industry and data? So yes, you're the best person to get started. And you don't need any programming expertise to learn MLOps, because here in this program, we don't teach data science, we don't teach data engineering, because this is not a program where you learn how to build ML models or doing data engineering. So that is out of a scope. So here it is purely focused on building MLOps pipelines. Okay, yeah, perfect. Please do ask your questions. Unmute your mic. You can start talking to me. You can start asking your questions. Please go ahead, ask your questions. You can also do use your chat window. Please do mention your questions in the chat window. Please go ahead. Perfect. Please do ask your questions in the chat window. So yes, Gaurav is asking whether this recordings will be shared. Yes, this recordings will be shared by tomorrow. And please go ahead and click on the link. So if you click on the first link, you'll be redirected to a platform called TownScript. And here is a place where we have hosted, I mean, this is a registration platform. So once you go to this particular link, so you can start seeing the same details. You can able to check the poster, and you can able to read more. You can able to check the curriculum that we have linked, the same curriculum that you have in a PDF. And once you hit book now, you can able to see registration platform, and this is a place obviously where you can able to pick a seats, definitely, because oh my god, okay, the basic plan on international participants is just sold out. Okay, that's perfect. So these are the only available seats that you have. Don't forget, we have the free upgradation offer right now, right? Because all you need to do, let's say you register for basic plan, you get advanced plan completely for free. Otherwise, if you're looking for advanced plus plan, register for advanced, you get advanced plus completely for free. That's how it works. Otherwise, are not interested in upgradation, you need some price cut, please do apply this particular coupon code. So I'm going to share this coupon code in the chat window. So you can use MLOps 05 PSI for 5% off, and you can use MLOps 10 PSI for 10% off on your registration. Please do use that coupon code, and you can go to a registration link and you can start applying. So for example, you can select a basic plan. Here itself, you can start applying this particular coupon code, MLOps 10 PSI. You can apply. I mean, it won't be applied for basic plan because it will be applied for advanced plan. So for example, let's say I will pick an advanced plan. You can see that you'll be almost saying 5,000 rupees. You can hit proceed, and you can just mention your details, something like this. And save, and you can go to the next page, and you can able to select the relevant payment option that you need, whether you're going for UPI or you can go for other payment options. If you're interested to go for a PayPal, yes, you can select. Otherwise, you can also go for an EMI option. Okay, so let's say if you're going for EMI option, you can choose coupon codes, because you will be also getting a no cost EMI, because by using this coupon codes, you can able to claim let's say the additional interest amount that you're going to pay will be exhausted. I mean, it will be waived off through that coupon codes, because you can choose maximum of 6 months of tenure for that. Perfect. Please do mention your question in the chat window. Please let me know if you have any other questions. I can able to help you with that. So yeah, let me just share you the links once again in the chat window. The first link is for the registration. The second link is a place where you can able to download a curriculum. The third link where you can able to download the free ebooks, and below is my contact number. Please do contact me if you have any questions further you want to discuss. You need some consulting, you want to take a decision whether you're a right fit for MLOps or not, you can just give me a call. Perfect. In the meantime, you guys ask any questions. I'm going to just go back and I'm going to show you how I'm going to deploy my ML model to production. Here we go. I'm in a code pipelines because it's a CI/CD pipeline that I integrated. You can see that my model deployment pipeline is in process. I will just go to that particular pipeline. All I'm going to do, you can able to see the pipeline that I built here. So you can see that source, where my source code is coming from. Here we have my build process where I'm actually building my ML model. And here is my deployment stage where I'm actually deploying my ML model. So this is where I have my testing stage where I'm actually doing my testing. And finally, I have my approval stage. This is where I need to approve my ML model. Similar to where I approved my ML model in dev, I'm going to hit on this review button. I'll get the same portals where I can do all the testing. I can just type some commands saying that, okay, I've tested my ML model or something like that. And now finally, I can go ahead and approve my ML model to get it deployed to a production, basically. Okay, that's perfect. So now I'm deploying my ML model. In few minutes, you can able to check the deployment status in your endpoint itself here, basically. Perfect. Yes, please go ahead, ask your question. If you have any other questions, please do mention in the chat window. I'm here to answer your questions. Go ahead. You might be having a questions related to the curriculum, the session, the debugging. Maybe you might be a data scientist, how this program is going to help. You might have a question. Let's say you might be ML engineer, how this program is going to help. Or maybe let's say you might have a questions related to the technical job support that I'm talking about. You might be having a questions related to the bonus reattendance opportunity that I'm talking about. Please do ask your question. So I'm going to spare a few more minutes. Please do ask your question. That's awesome. Perfect. So here we go. Let me just have a quick glance on the offer. We have two kind of an offers, which is strictly ending on 19th of September. So all you need to do, let's say you can pick either discounted offer or free upgradation offer. Free upgradation offer is, let's say you're looking for advanced plan, then don't register for advanced plan. All you need to do, register for a basic plan. We will be upgrading you to advanced plan completely for free. Otherwise, you're looking for advanced plus plan, all you need to do, register for advanced plan, you will be upgraded to advanced plus plan. But you cannot claim the coupon codes. Let's say if you're using a coupon codes and you register for basic or advanced, you cannot be upgraded to the next upgraded plans, basically. And let's say you can use option number 2. If you're not using upgradation, you can use this coupon codes to cut down the price on a registration. You can get a maximum of 5% on a basic or advanced, and you can get maximum of 10% on advanced plus plan. Additional to that, you can also choose an EMI option actually. Perfect. So here we have a question from Mahesh. Yes, Mahesh, this is an online program completely. Yes, we have doing this program pretty much for a long time in an online, and there's no necessity because we do have participants joining from various different countries. We do have people from UK, US, and other different countries. And again, there's a very much best time that we have so that our participants do utilize it. Yes. Perfect. And so Vivek, I guess VK, the person name is VK. I don't know. I'm just mentioning it's a Vivek. So other sessions are recorded and live training. Yes, Vivek. Let me just give you the structure of a program, Vivek, so you'll get some better clarity. So here we go. So obviously every weekend, so let me just tell you when this program is starting. So our program is going to start from 30th of September. Every Saturday, Sunday, we'll be having a session. And if you see that the session timings are something like this. Let's say it's going to start from 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. if you're joining from India. Let's say you're joining from US, let's say EST time zone. Let's say it's going to be 9:30 a.m. to 1:30. Let's say you're joining from UK. Let's say it's going to be 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So every weekend we'll be having a live sessions. So, and every Monday you'll be receiving access to the recordings of a live session that you attended. And every weekdays we do have something called debugging sessions. So these debugging sessions are optional. So we'll be having a debugging sessions on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, and it doesn't matter whether you're not available on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. You can just join, you can just contact us anytime throughout the weekdays because we do have some dedicated time. And this debugging sessions are optional. Let's say you have any questions, bugs that you couldn't resolve it during a live session, so you can able to join a debugging session where I'm going to help you one-on-one to fix the problem that you have. Basically, you'll be sharing a screen and I will be assisting you. So yes, so and again Vivek asked, VK asked a question, how long the session is going to be. So sessions are going to be 4 hours Saturday and 4 hours Sunday with the break. Perfect. Please do mention your question. If you want to talk to me, you can just unmute your mic. You can also talk to me. Please go ahead. You can also unmute your mic and you can also talk to me. You might have any other questions related to the pricing, the curriculum, or what we do in our technical job support, or what is this bonus reattendance opportunity. So bonus reattendance opportunity that I'm talking about, let's say you complete a program on, let's say the 30th September batch. Even after you completing 30th of September batch, you can rejoin this particular program completely for free in the next batch. Consider that it may be happen on a January or December. The dates are not decided. Completely for free, because usually we can see that 95% of the time we do have working professionals in our program. So sometimes they miss live session 20 to 25% of the times. So they ask a question, Sharath, I have missed some live sessions. Will you give a chance to retake a program once again in the next batch? Yes, we do provide a chance for our peoples to retake a program once again in the next batch completely for free. So this makes 100% of the time they don't miss anything from this particular program. So Amit is asking a question, will do we will have a certificate at the end? Yes, 100% you will get certificate that you could demonstrate in a LinkedIn or maybe in a social media, so you can download the certificates. Yes. Please do mention your question, and hardly we do have very few limited seats, and we have one basic plan seat is been just sold out. During the program itself, we do have very few limited seats. Please do go and add it in a platform. Just register yourself. If you have any questions further, please do contact me in this either two numbers that I shared, and we can have a discussion. Let's try to understand what are you looking forward. Let's try to understand you more better, and let's talk about the program. Perfect. Please do complete your program, and let me just also share you the testimonials. You can also download the the PDF. You can also just scroll down. You can click on the video links here. You can able to listen to the testimonials here. So maybe let's try to watch one testimonial here if possible. So maybe it would be very much feasible for you to listen. Yeah, so here we have his name is Rahul. He's been attended our previous batch, which is done happen on last July, and we still covering around 70% of a curriculum, but he started updating his resumes, getting assistance from me, and he started placed. Yeah, here we go.
So maybe you can just give some idea about what is the company that you applied for, so then we can talk about.
Okay, I'm sorry about the buffering. No idea why it's buffering. Perfect, folks. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please do mention in the chat window so I can able to assist you. Yeah. So please go ahead and click on that testimonials. You can able to check the testimonials, and you'll get some better clarity and better confidence to register for our program.
So maybe you can just give some.
So maybe too much software is running. The
idea about what is the company.
That's why it's buffering.
Company that you applied for, so then we can talk about the ML engineering job role.
So I applied for the AIML role for artificial/machine learning.
Yes, folks, I'm going to spare a few more minutes. Please go ahead and ask your questions. I'm going to spare 2 more minutes.
Exactly. Okay. So cloud part also there.
Okay.
Required cloud part and Docker. Okay. So they asked me question related to Docker.
Okay.
Kubernetes. And on basis of AWS, they asked me full CI/CD pipeline. How it works, and
Okay, here we go. So Mahesh asking a question, is it good for a long career gap students? I mean, so yes, because let me just tell you one more use case. It's not just a long career use case. We do have people who are from different domains. We do have a people from civil engineering. We do have people from mechanical engineering, but they are into some kind of a technical field already, and they could able to crack the jobs pretty much easier. Yes, and we do have people who did work and they had some gap and they could able to crack an interviews today with our program. That's really happening. And so we are also publishing those testimonials. Yes, Mahesh, it's possible. So Mahesh, I would suggest you to give me a call back after this particular demo session. We can have a clear discussion on so what you're doing, what you have done so far, and how you can able to get started. Perfect.
And how one question there is how we stop CI/CD pipeline. What is the procedure for stopping? Is it possible manually or not? So that all they tell me how to deploy from dev to production. How to deploy? Such type of question they ask me in that interview. So I do all the questions with the help of you.
Okay, looks like someone is trying to talk. I don't know.
Hi, Sir.
Hi. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Please go ahead. Please do mention your name and what you do, and we can have a discussion. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sharat. This is Harsha. I'm working as a software developer in the Oracle Fusion HCM. It's completely different to different. Actually, I completed yeah, ML and DL as well as completed, especially in imaging in healthcare side. Okay,
Or
so
computer vision.
basically my yeah, computer vision, yes. And in IISc, I completed image analysis.
Good. Okay, go
So
ahead.
yeah. So my doubt is, the healthcare data has been stored in DICOM. Okay. So is there
Okay.
any possibility to streamline to ML apps?
So let's say consider that you're talking about an healthcare data here, and let's say you're talking about let's say can I able to integrate MLOps on top of the healthcare data that you're talking about, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, it's possible. So it can be any classical model that you're building. Let's say it can be any structural data that, let's say, where you have a tables and columns and you want to teach that data to a machine and you want to make a predictions. Yes, it's possible. It can be a classical model, or it can be a computer vision based ML model, or it can be NLP based model. At the end of the day, let's say MLOps all cares about, okay, you have a model, that's good. How many versions of a model that you have, and what's the package? So consider that it's all worries about the package. Consider that you might be having a pickle files. You might be, let's say, when it comes to TensorFlow, we'll be having TensorFlow.modelfile.pb file. When it comes to PyTorch, we might be having a different format of a file at the end of the day. So all I want to do, I want to take these models. It can be computer vision, NLP, whatever it is. I want to go ahead and deploy it on some kind of a deployment platforms. It can be whatever the data that you have. It can be pictures, it can be structural data, it can be text, documents, any kind of a data doesn't matter. When it comes to the pipelines that you're going to learn in our program, or maybe the pipelines that you're going to build it for your organization, that should be capable of fitting any kind of a data to streamline any kind of a data into it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Sarath. I got it. Yeah.
Perfect. You're welcome. And if you have any further questions, please do call me and I will be available for you to call. Okay. That's perfect. So
Yeah,
here
sure,
we have
Sarath.
another
Yeah.
question. Another question from Raj. I'm a manager. How does it help me to become a product manager? That's perfect. So Raj, if you don't mind, can we have a conversation via microphone? Because I can able to understand much better. So because I know that you're a manager, but I don't have any idea what kind of a manager that you are in a technical field, non-technical field. So what kind of a manager, what kind of a products that you manage right now? So if I get some more insights, I can able to provide you a good idea. Okay. Putting it in a general thought, let's say if you are, let's say when it comes to MLOps, let's say you might be, consider that you might be coming from, you might be a software engineer, DevOps engineer, someone data engineer, data analyst, ML engineer, someone. Let's say you might be coming from various different ranges of experiences, right? You might be having a 2 to 3 years of experience. You might be coming from a product development background, additional with some technical skills like DevOps or something like that. So you might be having a 15 years of experience to 20 years of experience, from 2 to 16, consider that. So here, let's say once you have upgraded your skills on MLOps, you can work as existing data engineer, or data analyst, or ML engineer, or a data scientist, or let's say someone on the side of MLOps. We do have a specific roles in MLOps also. They call it as MLOps engineer. So those are the minimum requirements. Let's say if you have 2 to 3 years of experience, a minimum, let's say even a freshers can today get started with MLOps engineer roles. But let's say you have, let's say more than 7+ years of experience, you can look for some lead positions in MLOps. You can be a senior data scientist, senior product manager, someone who works in a technical field. You have some product management background. So by learning your MLOps, you can work as a lead MLOps engineer, MLOps specialist, MLOps architect kind of a roles. So, but let's say when you're working on a lead positions, you won't be building an ML models here, because you'll be having fellow data scientists, data engineers, someone who can able to take care about that. So as a lead position, so you will be someone who is be working on infrastructure, managing infrastructure, deciding that infrastructure, deploying that infrastructure, working on that particular development of your ML model, right? Those kind of a stuff basically. So, but when you're applying for roles like MLOps engineer, even though if you're a fresher, a beginner, you have a minimum 2 to 3 years of experience, 4 years of experience, you can apply for ML engineering roles. But when you're applying for ML engineering roles, you need to have a good idea on everything that we are teaching in our program, because it covers AWS, we cover Azure, we cover GCP, we cover open source tools. So that's a scenario. Yeah. So please go ahead. I'm going to spare a few more minutes if you have any questions. Go ahead, ask your questions. Let me know if you have any other questions. Give me, yeah. So here we have a person called MD in the chat. Ask the question. Okay, who are from other fields with more than 7 years of experience? What we can accept from this particular program? Like we will be seniors or lead, something like, as I mentioned, let's say 7 years of experience, people who are coming from some technical experience. You can apply for, let's say, lead positions in MLOps, let's say MLOps lead engineer, MLOps architect, and specialist kind of stuff. Okay, so consider that. Here we go. Okay, a quick proof of does MLOps really matters. Here is the LinkedIn. I just searched for different roles in LinkedIn. So here you can see that here is the organization Verizon looking for engineers and ML engineering. Just scan for the keywords, what they're looking forward here. That's all what it matters. You can see that the first thing they're looking forward, okay, you should be good at monitoring and maintaining a performance and deployment of your machine learning models, right? So here you can see that they're talking about feature drift monitoring, basically monitoring your ML models. So I'm closely working with data engineers, data scientists, and DevOps team. So here they're calling that as DevOps team anyway, and data science, model testing, validation, and other stuff. GCP platform, yes, we do cover GCP, right? So yeah, you can see this, right? So, and even if you go for any other job search today, it can be data engineers slash ML engineers, anything. So today you need an MLOps skills. You might be in a safe job today, but if you're looking for a better opportunity tomorrow, but there is, I mean, you cannot lead that position without MLOps. That's the situation today. Please do ask your questions. If you have any other questions, I'm here to help you. Perfect. Here we go as another job description, MLOps engineer lead. And yeah, all you can see that, okay, here you can see that, okay, other kind of a framework, that's good, but you can see this here. MLOps frameworks to be implemented, model serving, scaling with Kubernetes platform. Do we cover Kubernetes? Yes, we do cover Kubernetes, right? Yes. And other things that you can have a quick look. So I can just show you 1,000 descriptions like that, job descriptions like that today. So the person called MD is asking, will you be starting from basics, Azure, GCP and all? Yes. So when it comes to MLOps, When it comes to MLOps, we'll be completely starting from a scratch. It's not something you need to be already experienced in MLOps to join the program. When it comes to MLOps, we'll be completely starting from a scratch. And again, this is not a program where you learn data science or data engineering, because data science, learning data science, data science or data engineering is out of a scope. But anything related to MLOps will be starting from a scratch, definitely, yes. Please go ahead, ask your questions, folks. I'm going to spare a few more minutes. Perfect. You might be having the question, so let me just quickly play this video.
Really, really happy for that. That's good. So what's the company name that you mentioned? So SA Technology. SA Technology. So based out of?
In Mumbai.
Mumbai, perfect. So you're also from Mumbai, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good. So now you're asking questions. So now you have a 20 days of time.
Yes.
The joining date. So you're asking, okay, can I able to
Yes. Yes.
Definitely, please do apply. So even if you get a better package, yes, why not, right? So you can look for the better opportunity. So please go ahead, as you usually do, apply for the jobs and share in the job description if you need any insights on that. I'm very much happy to provide that. Okay. Yeah, that's really awesome. And if there are any other questions that you need to ask?
Okay,
So now, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
now onward from tomorrow today I apply based on the my.
Hello, Rahul. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so that's why I called you regarding that. Can I apply now on full-fledged on for MLOps?
Yeah. Please proceed. Still we have to cover a few more things on MLOps. Still we have to cover the AWS MLOps full-fledged project that we might cover in the next weekend. Not this coming weekend, the next coming weekend. Still we have this Kubeflow and other things. But anyway, you have an access to the recording, so serious that. So go through that, especially in case
you can see what Rahul has done. So he has registered for Advanced Plus plan. He got an access to recordings, and from a day one, he started going through the recordings, parallel attending live sessions. But still, the live sessions are not at over. But because he has gone through the recordings with with our assistants, and he could able to
other
crack the job. Yeah.
I'm looking for anything related to Kubeflow, maybe something on GCP or something would really help you actually to crack that particular job. Okay. So proceed, Rahul. So you can, 20 days of time, you can really utilize it in a word. Apply for different job roles. Yeah, it should really work. Actually. Yeah. Okay. Perfect, Rahul. Thank you so much. And sometimes I might ask you to leave your feedback in the group. So once you open a group, would really help us. I will also share this audio message in the group, which will also encourage other people also. Okay. Thank you so much, Rahul. And have a wonderful day. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much, folks. And you can also check other testimonials. So I will also share you this particular links we have collected. So we have a lot of testimonials you can just go through. And we have people's joining from, we have engineer who joined, previously worked in ISRO. He has joined our program, he has taken a program. So please also go through that particular the testimonials that we have shared, so we'll get some better clarity. So thank you so much for spending your valuable time. Please do call me if you have any further questions, and so I'm here to assist you. Like, we can try to understand what's your requirement, and then we can proceed. I guess like some of them.
Yeah, hi Sarat, Abhishek this side.
Yeah, so may I know your name, and then we can have a conversation and what you do.
Uh, Abhishek this side. I'm working
Yeah,
as a
Abhishek.
technical manager in MNC. That is
Okay.
totally my projects are in the .NET only. Actually, I have approximately 12 years of experience. Is it valuable for me also? Because I have
Okay.
12 year of experience in development field only. And earlier I was started as a assistant programmer and now a technical manager in that field. So is it valuable for me also? Because I think as you told earlier
Yeah.
in the your conversation that it can be a lead position in ML or something. But
Yeah.
is that valuable for me? Because I think 12 years which I have spent it in development field, that will be just become zero when I came to that analytic or anything in this field.
Perfect. Perfect.
So
I got
can
it.
you
See,
just
like given a software engineers, they can able to transform into MLOps. So, but can you just give me like what kind of a development that you've been part of, let's say for the last 12 years that you're talking about? Can you give some insight?
ASP.NET C Sharp and that all?
Okay, so you have a good programming skills, maybe not, let's say,
Correct,
what we're talking about. Yeah, that's good. Yes,
correct, correct,
you can.
correct.
Yes, you can, Abhishek. Yes, you can, 100% yes. But let's say if you're going to ask this particular question, saying that, see, I'm coming from development background, but I want to become a data scientist. For example, I would say because not immediately you can become data scientist, but anyone can learn anything. But let's say if you want to become a data scientist, then you need to have, let's say, in-depth skills on algorithms, statistics, the
See,
probability and mathematics, all this stuff. But let's say when
main,
it comes to your scenario,
okay, okay.
you,
Hmm.
you can focus on ML engineering. So that's why I'm trying to say you need to decide where you will be fitted. That's what this program is all about. So you are considering your position, you can work as an ML engineer. Considering
Hmm.
your experience, you can work as a MLOps engineer, MLOps lead, so that the lead positions might will matches you. MLOps lead engineer, MLOps architect, MLOps specialist kind of a roles basically.
Okay.
So that's where you will be really. So for a quick insight, you can see that what does a
Hmm.
typical MLOps engineering role looks like. You can see everything that we have mentioned in this particular program. So here, what are they looking forward? So they are looking for a good experience in, let's say, GCP, CI, CD, all this stuff. Then you can see building a container application, working with Dockers, we do collect that, working with Kubernetes cloud platform, and demonstrate other stuff. Let's say here, model monitoring, performance, all the stuff, CI, CD, GCP Vertex AI, and you can see that CI, CD, Jenkins, Git flow, Kubernetes, Kubeflow, sorry, ML flow, which we do cover, and a basic Python programming scripting knowledge basically. So here, as a MLOps engineer, you don't build ML models. Let's say when it comes to a data scientist or data engineer, you need to have a good skills in Python algorithm because they build ML models. But as a MLOps engineer or ML engineer, you'll be taking care of it. When it comes to MLOps engineer, you'll be taking care of an infrastructure, deploying the infrastructure. So I want to deploy the infrastructure for Kubeflow. I want to deploy infrastructure for ML flow, for example. So those responsibilities with you will be doing that. So once you deploy the infrastructure, on top of that infrastructure, you will be having your data scientists, ML engineers, they will be working that infrastructure. So that's how
Okay.
you can be transformed into MLOps engineering roles. ML engineer can be one option, but considering your experience, you can look forward for the MLOps lead positions.
See, actually, anyone who has joined the course, they have two things in the mind. First one is they just want to enhance their knowledge, and second one is they just want to enhance their CTC or everyone is here for these two reasons only. Correct. Okay. In
Exactly,
that
and
case, if I start this, so it will be just like a okay. After completing course, it may be that you people are giving some practical knowledge and you're providing some experience or something else. That may be, but those 12 years which we just used in development or something else, that will not be counted over here as an experience. See,
that's
whenever
what,
I
yeah,
will be.
that's yeah. So consider that
Hmm,
that's where we are acting your role. That's why we ask people to make a call.
hmm,
And because first thing, let's say if you go to a resume preparation that we are, let's say when it comes to advanced or very advanced plus plan what we have. So first thing
hmm,
that we see, let's say how you can able to carry forward your existing experience that you have
hmm,
following along with you. That's what you're talking about. I have a 12 years of experience. You are a manager,
hmm.
right? So you are a
Yes.
product manager. Consider that you know how to work with products. It can be a software product. It can be a product that builds that you're building on top of AI. Doesn't matter because your
Correct.
project management experience still applies. Am I right, Abhishek? Still applies for building an ML model also. So this is what we discussed. This is how we suggest to people what you can able to mention in your resume. and what you should not, those things. Consider that it can be a different scenario. Let's say there is a data analyst. He is not into ML domain, but he is good at analyzing the data. He builds beautiful visualizations, blah, 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 blah stuff. But now he want to get into MLOps, but now he's able to transform his resume because he is already coming from a good knowledge of data analyst. Like say he can build beautiful visualizations, all this stuff. Let's say a data analyst can be working as a data analyst itself in ML industries. Otherwise, he can work as an ML engineer, because ML engineers again they deploy ML models. We can build beautiful visualizations to monitor your ML models and monitoring the infrastructure, all those stuff. So that's how you can able to demonstrate basically your experience, how you can able to carry forward your existing experience, because you can carry forward your existing experience saying that you are a product manager. That's
Okay.
how it's going to help you in a lead positions, because what we do in a lead positions, Abhishek. So if you ask me a question, who gets to decide what to be used in this organization? People who are in this lead position, basically they decide, okay, we're going to use this particular tool because this need this much resource, this much investment, all this stuff. Because that's again a part of product development, isn't it? Planning, budgeting, and deciding what kind of a tool that we need to use, all this stuff. So that's where the
Correct.
lead position people do.
Okay, so this was the part where we just covered first point, that is experience or gaining some knowledge. Now it comes to the
Yep.
second part, that is income. Okay, as a project manager, whatever I am getting here as the experience of 12 plus years, is it possible to get that much salary after completing the course, having experience of in that field of 6 months or 1 year or something else? Is it possible in
I
that
guess
also?
hardly 6 months and 1 year is pretty much more possibility. So 6 months itself, okay, we can say 6 months or 1 year, it's more possibilities that you have. Because consider that an average salary for, as we discussed, let's say if I go to this, yeah, see, an average salary for someone who has a 2 3 years of experience is 23.1 lakhs. Okay, so and let's say when people are more experiences, they will go into this, let's say 25 percentage slab. So let's say where they will be having a scale of 30 to 40 lakhs for example.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a data. This data keeps on varying because as we are discussing, good that when there is a hype, get into the market, you secure your position over there, because it's currently peaking up. So because the hirings are picking up, and again there is a huge gap today for MLOps skills, because let's say for the next maybe the 10 years or 50 10, at least for 10 years there will be a pretty much hype, because if you are first to the market, that means you take the bigger piece of a cake. That's what really happening with MLOps today. See, we have a
Correct.
lot of data scientists and data engineers who are good at making ML models, but industry, according to the current state of machine learning, what we are talking about, so organizations are no more just sitting and building ML models only because they want to productionize. They want to go to the market. They, what makes their ML model to go to a market? This pipelines basically. See, just wonder, if you wonder like why, just ask a question. So why didn't ChatGPT been released last 10 years ago or last 5 years ago? Why it did happen last end of a year? Because this is the data says. That's what exactly the data says. OpenAI is an organization, they are getting into the production. They have an LLM based model, which is a ChatGPT. Now they want to productionize it. Let's say ChatGPT is pretty much famous. That's what we are talking about that. But there are pretty much more AI tools like that too. If you go and just browse your LinkedIn or maybe Instagram tech profiles, you will come across 10 or 20 AI tools every day in the market.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
It's perfect. I guess, like we have spent most of the time. Please let me know, folks. I appreciate your interest. If you have further questions, please do mention. Okay, that's fine. It's time to sign out. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time. I hope you enjoyed this today program. You understand what is MLOps, and I try to show you how does 5 to 10 years looks like in MLOps. And please don't miss the session because we have very few, very limited. I'm going to share this links once again in the chat window. Please go ahead conversation before we sold out. And if you have any questions, please call me back. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you